The following is a presentation of ESPN on ABC.
Was there ever an IndyCar winter so long? 5 months cooped up in the shop to dream and to reflect on 2013. A season with 10 different winners, 4 first-time victors, and an Indy 500 with lead changes nearing 100.
Now pulling up on the leader.
But today brings spring, when our eyes shift from the rear-view mirror to the horizon up ahead, hammer down into the warmth of St. Petersburg and the heat of the season that it ignites. Today brings back old familiar faces, but in some new places, like Indy 500 champion Juan Pablo Montoya and street ace Ryan Briscoe. The field is packed with St. Pete winners. Helio Castroneves aims for his 4th.
Great job, Helio.
Today is the first day of a new season.
Green is still out, cover to the checker.
Today is a day when everyone believes they can win the IndyCar championship. Today, winter ends and hope begins.
Right car, raise the pin, yes!
Welcome to IndyCar 2014.
What a way to start the season. Sunshine, palm trees, and the energy of a new racing year, all part of the scene for the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, live from downtown St. Petersburg, Florida. A 14-turn race course set among the great restaurants and waterside parks has drawn thousands of fans to downtown. They've been checking out the cars, watching the morning warm-up, and waiting to see which driver comes out on top of the tough street fight that begins shortly. And hello from sunny Florida. Alan Bestwick, pleased to have joined our ABC coverage of IndyCar this season. And why not? What a terrific campaign 2013 was. You just saw all the different winners of last season. And now with the signing of a new series sponsor just before the new campaign begins, there's a great deal of energy and optimism down in the IndyCar paddock. And what stories to begin this new season with. Look at this photo. The 10 drivers who won a year ago. Driver seated in the front there, won multiple times last year. And that competition level plays for this St. Pete season opener as well. 5 former winners in the field, any of whom could score today. New faces in new places includes the Indianapolis 500 winner Tony Kanaan. He makes his record 216th consecutive start, but now aboard Chip Ganassi's 10 car. Their series champ Scott Dixon, who continues to climb the all-time win list. Only the names Foyt, Andretti, and Unser are ahead of him now. And Helio Castroneves looking for an unprecedented 4th St. Petersburg Grand Prix win today. Joined by 5-time open wheel winner Scott Goodyear now. And Scott, you heard the words hope and optimism in our opening. Why is there hope and optimism in the paddock today?
Because, Alan, every driver out there right now and every team believes that they can win this event and win the championship. But when you think about this sport right now, majority of the races have been won by the big teams. Team Penske, Target Chip Ganassi, and Andretti Autosport. But last year in 2013, 4 of those races were won by the little guys. Changes in rules and regulations now have allowed the teams to get closer on the racetrack. And here, this weekend, a small team, a 1-car team, AJ Foyt Racing, has their driver on pole, Takuma Sato.
Good competition. Will be a lot of fun to watch. Also joined by the 1998 Indianapolis 500 winner Eddie Cheever. What a way to start the season. A street fight in beautiful sunny Florida. What are we watching for today?
Imagine having a race right outside of your neighborhood with 700 and plus horsepower cars. It's difficult. There's walls, you can't make a mistake, and this place has a mystique about it. I kind of feel there's a little bit of Monte Carlo in Central Florida, and it's a spring day. It looks great for us and easy to watch the race, but for the drivers, it's going to be a brawl. And if you so much as blink at the wrong time, you're going to hit something, and your race will be over.
Just a little bit of what to watch for in this one. Now, more great stories to cover before the green flag waves. How about Juan Pablo Montoya making his return to open wheel racing after a 7-year stint in NASCAR? Dario Franchitti's new role as a driver advisor at Ganassi after his injury-forced retirement, and his replacement in the Target 10 Indy 500 winner Tony Kanaan. There's Scott Dixon looking to get off to a strong start in a bid for back-to-back championships. That strong start's been elusive in years past. And Will Power, who finished last season on a roll and hopes to keep that momentum rolling into the new year. But we begin at the front of the grid where AJ Foyt's car starts on pole position with his driver Takuma Sato. Now the pairing of Super Tex and a driver from Tokyo might seem like an odd couple, but it works pretty well.
AJ Foyt casts a 2,000-mile-long shadow over his race team. The four-time 500 winner has struggled to find a permanent replacement for himself since his IndyCar retirement in 1993.
I just wanted somebody who wanted to win.
The Texan walks with a hitch and shoes too big to fill. Takuma Sato glides lightly beside him. He is the unlikeliest of successors to the Foyt racing legacy.
My blood is just about racing, pushing absolute on the limit and living on edge.
Now we got a driver instead of a guy who wants to ride.
Without any offense, he's crazy, obviously.
A Japanese driver with an F1 pedigree. A Texan owner with more personality than you could fit in a fire suit.
I'm a small guy and he's a big guy, and he's growing up in Texas, I'm growing up in Tokyo.
Every person I feel in life is different. I mean, where I might like roses, you might not.
Two men, opposite in every measurable way, besides the one that matters, speed. Foyt Racing is a winning team for the first time since 2002. Once again, A.J. Foyt is the guy to beat.
When the grain goes down, we're going to be very competitive.
It's a study in contrast that reveals a basic truth about identity at 200 miles an hour. About surface differences that blur away at 230. A language racers don't need to speak to understand.
I and AJ has got something common. Probably I don't know what it is, but it's something common that you can feel it.
I don't care where he's from or who he is. He's just not a smart ass. And if I like him, I like him. So you couldn't ask for nothing better.
I had a chance to visit with A.J. Foyt this morning back in the paddock area. He was in fine spirits, and he really likes this driver and has a good feeling that Sato can get it done in the Foyt 14 today here in St. Petersburg. You see Takuma there with Tony Kanaan after just been shown around the course during driver introductions here at St. Petersburg. Down to the grid for a couple of other favorites to perhaps win today. Here's Jamie Little.
Well, Alan, the 2013 IndyCar Series championship came down to these two drivers, Penske's Helio Castroneves and, of course, the champion, Ganassi's Scott Dixon. Exactly. You still hold that animosity, do you, Helio?
Not quite, not quite. I'm just joking around. Obviously, it's 2014. They did a great job, and they did what they were supposed to do. But at the end of the day, what I take from last year is just that taste. So I'm going to take it here tonight, starting today, and hopefully we can take it for the rest of the season. But certainly Hitachi car looks good, looks strong. The weather looks awesome, so I can't wait to go for it.
Scott, it came down to the bitter end. You ended up coming out victorious with the championship, yet your team still swapped from Honda power to Chevy power. How can that change perhaps affect your outcome this year?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting change, and it's above my pay grade, so it's a good decision I don't have to make. But you know, I think the team, there's a lot of changes. Obviously, Dario into his forced retirement, and welcoming TK and Ryan Briscoe back to the team. 4-car team expanding, and then with Chevy power. But it's definitely been seems to be a seamless kind of switch, which hopefully we can kind of carry on the tradition of last year. But it's going to be tough. I've got to thank everybody for coming out today. The weather's fantastic, and without the fans, we wouldn't be here. And obviously Verizon too for coming on board, man. That's a big deal. So lots of exciting things for 2014.
Well, Elio, you have one thing this guy doesn't, and that's 3 wins here at St. Pete. What is it about this place that plays into your hands?
Well, it's an interesting thing. Scott, actually, I think every time I won, you finished second.
He did.
So it's interesting. Exactly. Well, he won the championship, finished second. So we got to try changing things around. But at the end of the day, this place suits me, my style. I enjoy it. I think it's the beginning of the season, so everybody is excited to start. And finally, we're here with the Verizon IndyCar Series 2014, about to start.
All right, Helio Castroneves rolls off 10th. Scott Dixon rolls off 5th. That's good for him. Alan?
And a couple of good picks to win this race today here in downtown St. Petersburg, Jamie. Still to come from the streets of St. Pete, the front row starter, Tony Kanaan, taking over for the 4-time champ Dario Franchitti in the Target 10. We'll hear from TK as the countdown to the green flag continues. St. Petersburg, Florida, the Sunshine City, nicknamed that way because they say they get 361 days a year of sunshine here. I know those of you stuck in the throes of winter don't really want to hear that, but it's a beautiful 68 degrees today as we get ready for the season opener for the Verizon IndyCar Series. So, with the beginning of a new season comes the debut of drivers in new places, and for some, new racing series. They're all seeking that magical winning combination. Here's Rick DeBrule.
IndyCar is about chemistry, but not just fluid dynamics or aerodynamics. It's the chemistry that comes when you take the right driver and mix him with the right team, and boom! It's a formula that produces champagne, silver, perhaps even milk. IndyCar experiments never stop. And this year brings even more changing team combinations. Open-wheel champion Juan Pablo Montoya extracted from NASCAR and is injected into Team Penske's #2 car.
Juan Montoya wins the Indianapolis 500.
Does Montoya plus Penske equal victory again? And the last to enjoy the milk was Tony Kanaan. But this year, TK leaves KV Racing, taking the 10 car from another 500 champion, Dario Franchitti. It's all the handiwork of chemist Chip Ganassi. That's right, remember the guy who discovered Montoya? Added to Ganassi's equation is former Penske driver Ryan Briscoe. Meanwhile, Sebastian Bourdais replaces Kanaan at KV Racing. Schmidt-Peterson Racing fuses with Mikhail Aloshin. Ed Carpenter has formed a bond with Mike Conway. And Carlos Munoz is now the fourth element of Andretti Autosport. So many race cars, so many drivers, so many teams. But only the perfect mixture will create that perfect element. The element of celebration.
Rick, so true, and so many interesting stories on the grid for this season opening race. Tony Kanaan being one of them, of course, replacing Dario Franchitti after Franchitti's injury-forced retirement. And Kanaan moving over, his driving style a great deal different than Franchitti's. How will he mix with Scott Dixon and the data interpretation and so on for this Ganassi team? Standing by with Kanaan is Vince Welch.
One of the biggest stories in IndyCar Series racing is the transition from Dario Franchitti to this man, Tony Kanaan, in the 10 car. Tony, what's it mean to you at this stage in your career? Not just succeeding Dario, but your great friend Dan Weldon drove the 10 prior to him, and the opportunity that this presents for you.
Well, it's a great opportunity for me. I can't thank Target Chip Ganassi enough for that. My two best friends drove this car, and I'm trying to make them proud. So we have a pretty good start of the day today, so we'll see what's going to happen.
How do you avoid the pressure of sitting in this ride and this great opportunity?
Pressure makes me better, so I love it. You don't avoid it. You just suck it up and go do it.
5 times on the podium here at St. Pete, but never the top step. What makes it so difficult to win here?
I don't know. It's a good question, but I tried 12 times in Indy and we did it, so I know it's not impossible.
Maybe this is your day. Tony Kanaan in the 10 car today.
Well, Juan Pablo Montoya may have one of the greatest racing resumes, but this weekend is a bit of a learning experience. Hasn't been in an IndyCar for quite some time, so the obvious question, what's it like?
It's been a lot of fun. It's been extremely difficult, but it's been a lot of fun. You know, our Verizon car has been really strong. It's been hard because I've been taking my time every practice, just getting a little better, and I felt like we were pretty good going into qualifying, and then it rained. You know, I haven't driven in the rain in 7 years. So street course, rain, it was one kind of disaster opportunity, and we just, you know, did the best I could. And when I finally figured out the tires were kind of wore out, so it's what it is. I mean, today, same thing. I haven't done a single lap on red tires. I'm starting on reds, so we'll see.
So it's going to be a learning experience. He's starting 18th, and I think it's going to be quite a day for this guy returning to IndyCar.
Montoya, one of the more fascinating stories of this 2014 season. October 19th was the last checkered flag of last season. The command to start engines and the first green flag of this is next. Beginning to clear the grid for the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, the season opener for the Verizon IndyCar Series. Drivers buckling aboard their cars. The command to start engines is coming up in just a moment. One of the faces in new places for this season is 4-time champion Dario Franchitti with a new role. Here's Vince.
Well, we heard from Tony Kanaan, and now Dario standing at the head of Tony's car. Normally the car you sit in, and I sense some nerves from you. Who's more nervous at this point, you or him?
I'm not nervous. I'm just freaked out not being in the car. This is a new thing, and to sit here and watch TK and Scott driving the target cars is it's more nerve-wracking outside the car, to be honest, for me.
How difficult has it been for you personally, this transition? You weren't ready to stop racing, and now your hand was forced.
Bits of it are difficult, bits of it are very rewarding. Yesterday was very rewarding to see Scott do his usual amazing job in the car, and then to watch TK, all the hard work he's put in over the winter, to see that come to fruition, both target cars in the top 6, that made me really proud. So there's good bits and bad bits, but I'm just happy to be standing here and get to enjoy the IndyCar series.
You're on the box for the 10 car today. How can you help Tony Kanaan and this 10 team get to victory lane?
They're a pretty well-oiled machine, so if they ask me a question, I'll give them an answer, but in general, I'll sit and watch how they do it, and then maybe give some comments after.
Thanks, Dario. Alan?
Vince, thanks. And certainly when you look at the dominant groups in the IndyCar series over the last decade, Chip Ganassi's team, Andretti Autosport, Michael Andretti's group, and Penske, Team Penske with Roger Penske, have been the kings of the sport, but a lot of others looking to challenge them today on the streets of St. Pete in the season opener.
St. Petersburg IndyCar fans, are you ready? It's time for those most famous words in all of sports. Please welcome SSG retired Charles Clay Baker as he gives the command.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
Ready to race for 2014. The opener at St. Petersburg beginning in just moments. There are great stories scattered throughout the entire IndyCar grid for this one. Let's start up front. Here's Vince.
The front row features two of the most exciting drivers in this sport. Takuma Sato will start from the pole today. His motto, no attack, no chance. And Tony Kanaan, who says this track suits his style, you've got to be aggressive. It's going to be fun at the front today. Jamie Little.
And the second row, Will Power turned up the wick last season at the Indy, won 3 of the last 5 races. Can he get it done for the second time today? He's looking to it. Meanwhile, series defending champion Scott Dixon, they've made the swap from Honda to Chevy. Will that be the change to get that first win in St. Pete? Let's go to Rick DeBrule.
Well, Jamie, there's several good drivers that are going to be starting from the back of the pack, and the biggest name, this guy right here, James Hinchcliffe. That's right, the guy who won the race here last year, made a mistake in qualifying, spun the car, took all the blame. He says he knows that he put the team in a corner, but he also knows he has a car that can put him in victory circle. It's going to take strategy and skill. He's got it. Probably hit on people that they didn't.
And off they go. 2 parade laps and 1 pace lap before the green flag to start the season. Graham Rahal's got our National Guard on board. Charlie Kimball's got the Novo Nordisk on board. Our Verizon on board with Juan Pablo Montoya and Elio Castroneves. The Verizon on board as well in that 3 car. Ryan Briscoe has the NTT data on board. And Marco Andretti has our Honda on board camera. Scott Dixon carrying the Firestone on board, the defending champ. And Ryan Hunter-Reay has our AutoNation onboard camera. Great views to watch these guys hard at work as they go with a little brawl between the walls here on the streets of St. Pete. Mario Andretti not going to make the grid. Our first DNF.
How long have we said that? That's been a long time since he's been in a race car.
Yeah. Well, you can still try to get your chance to start an IndyCar Series race in the Honda Andretti TV 2-seater, driven by Mario. Enter for a chance at shophonda.com. Sweepstakes begins May 1st, 2014. So let's show you this 14-turn course through the streets of St. Pete, but instead of us telling you what it's like to rock it around here, let's hear from the drivers themselves on some of the hot spots.
tough here because it seems so wide on the runway, and then it really funnels down. I think the start in 2011, I was upside down here. You think you can be like 6, 7 wide, but it funnels down really quickly.
Turn 4 has a very bumpy surface on the braking. It's so wide, it gives the drivers this temptation to actually make a pass. That's why you see some of the accidents there, because the entry is extremely wide, but then as you get to the mid corner to the exit, it gets really narrow. You know, you think you can do that, but then you find yourself in trouble.
Turn 4 sets up this corner 4 to corner 9 sort of rhythm section that's very technical, and if you get corner 4 wrong, it can ruin literally half your lap.
I call the Mickey Mouse section because you go 5, 6, 7, and it's like the ears of the Mickey Mouse, you know.
Turn 10, it's a bit of a daunting corner. It's a very narrow sight line, and all you really see as you get to the corner is basically the tyre wall in front of you. Probably find that the most difficult.
Turn 11, 12 is a fast chicane, flat out, followed by 13, which is almost like a hairpin but wide. That's a very important corner because it's just before the straightaway.
You know, it's so cool coming off that last corner onto a runway. You have all this room and you're just wide open throttle, letting that IndyCar engine just scream. I mean, you feel like you're gonna take off. Every time you do that, you're full of hope that that next lap is gonna be the lap. So the front straight here is a pretty cool feeling.
You know, I don't know in how many cities in the country you can have the combination of city parks, an airport, and the streets right along the water of downtown that form this court. And of course, it's just a great setting for a race. And a look at our Firestone starting grid as we get ready to go.
Sato for Foyt is going to be very quick, as of course Kanaan will be extremely aggressive.
Will Power will be a big favorite.
Dixon, he was the New Zealand Sportsman of the Year recently, trying for his 4th title, and Marco Andretti, at 27 years of age, is trying to win his first championship.
And what can you say about Munoz? He was very quick last year at Indy. He's done very well here, and I think he's going to do something very special today. And my favorite, Ryan Briscoe today. He's back at Ganassi again, and of course with Helio Castroneves. What can you say? There's a place he can win again today.
Bud Conway sharing time with Ed Carpenter in that 20 car for the season. Savader's deal came together kind of late, but got a chance to get some preseason testing in. Sebastian Bourdais and Simon Pagenaud. The qualifying yesterday was running a combination of conditions. It had rained, delayed qualifying, then it was running drying conditions, so a couple of guys get caught out on that by the draw for qualifying. Bourdais and Pagenaud, 2 to watch coming through the field today. As same for Justin Wilson, and of course Mikhail Aloshin, the first Russian to start an IndyCar Series race, and he's got a lot of speed. And there's Montoya, well back in the field on the grid. James Hinchcliffe, defending winner of this race, had a problem in qualifying. He and Mid-Ohio winner last year, Charlie Kimball, way in the back. Graham Rahal as well had some problems in qualifying. He and Joseph Newgarden bringing up the backside of the field. So 110 laps makes up the distance today around the course. Our broadcast available in Spanish by activating your SAP button, presented by ESPN Deportes. October 19th since these guys last raced in an IndyCar. And now they're getting ready to go off into turn 1. First corner, a hard right-hander, first race of the season. Sometimes it's big. Here we go, we're green at St. Petersburg.
Green flag control, green flag.
Takuma Sato, what a jump from Tony Kanaan on the start. Looks like Tony might have had a hesitation there. Looks like everybody's on the back door of Tony right now.
Tony's back to 3rd.
I'm just holding my breath to see if they all make it through the first couple of corners.
From what we've seen here in past years, I was quite surprised. Remember, Marco Andretti turned over upside down back in 2011. This is the tight section back through here. It's really one line when the cars are at speed, but very narrow. Remember, walls on both sides.
Oh, here's a here.
Down Bayshore, tricky turn 10. You heard the driver say in our course map, then the short sprint through Albert Woodard Park and back around onto the runway of Albert Woodard Airport that makes up the front stretch.
This has been one of the tidiest first laps we've ever seen at the start of the season.
Hunter Ray, yellow car, 28, and Kanaan in the 10, racing there for second.
Sato has really taken off like a rocket today. He was very confident in qualifying, and he just carried through all the way into the beginning of this race.
Castroneves picking up a spot. Moved him up into 7th place with a pass on Hawksworth.
Interesting to note that the first 4 cars have used 1 time of their push to pass. You get 10 opportunities to push a button on your steering wheel that gives you a little extra power, and it looks like now maybe those guys did it on the start to make sure they got a free run from the cars from behind.
9 positions in the first lap for Graham Rahal from the back of the field all the way up to 12th place in that 15 car.
Very difficult on a street circuit like this. Great time to pass on a start or a restart, but very difficult, especially a little blocking look like is going on there. Saavedra bombs down the inside of Graham Rahal, so he gets a position back.
That's a very aggressive move this early on in the race, but he got away with it cleanly.
Interestingly, even though he's moving up, he was just on the radio telling his father, Bobby Rahal, the car won't turn that well. Now, he was very happy with the car in practice on Friday, just got caught out and qualified into the back, but moving up very quickly. The question is whether the car is going to be able to hold that pace.
We'll get our best guys on Rick's mic, get that straightened out.
Good job. Let's keep it tapped into what we got here.
Look at those busy hands.
From Wilson.
Wow.
One of the bumpiest sections of the racetrack here, coming down to turn 4. Very physical for the drivers through the steering wheel, up through the arms.
Sato, Hunter Ray, Kanan, Power, Dixon, the top 5. Castroneves made another pass, cut by Munoz. He's up to 6th.
And Marco Andretti's up to 11th.
On board Graham Rahal at the start.
Oh, very lucky there.
Two inside, 1 inside, 2 inside, 1 outside, 3 outside.
That is amazing. I can't believe that.
Four near misses.
Talk about sitting on
my
go.
breath.
Yeah.
He almost had 4 accidents before the first turn.
It's been a week already for this team. Had a transporter fire on Monday night trying to get here. Had to turn around, go back to Indianapolis, unload, reload into a new truck. Got here a little late. Scrambled around, though, and got everything done. Then the problem in qualifying, it was wet conditions when he went out. He slid off into the barrier, ruined his lap and his effort, and he started all the way at the back of the field.
But they are very confident. His dad told me that they've incremented their technical force by almost 30%, so once I think they've digested all that, they'll be in great shape, and he's doing a really good effort on his first race today.
25 Marco Andretti, 19 Justin Wilson. This is for 12th and 13th places. Andretti started up in 6th. You saw in that video of Graham Rahal. Andretti, one of the guys he was fighting with. And of course, Justin Wilson, 19, his first race back after that horrible crash he had out in California in the season finale in October as he makes a bid for the spot.
Oh, does it nicely. Very difficult, as I mentioned there. Under braking, full of bumps. Go a little bit too far into the turn. The wheels lock up, but a great move by Justin Wilson.
Suffered a broken pelvis in that accident and recovered nicely. Got back to his training. Says he feels great and he's ready to go.
He's actually had 2 broken backs in his career in IndyCar, but he is very comfortable on these street courses. He's somebody that has a game plan today, and it's working out. He's very, very aggressive under braking here.
James Hinchcliffe, last year's winner of this race, also had problems in qualifying. Started back in 19th position. You see, he's lost spots since the start.
Can you see something? Yeah, you're getting hard limiter. We're working on it.
So what that means is that going into the hard limiter, the cars are regulated to 12,000 RPMs and electronically controlled. So there might be something going on with the electronic system on the car. So it's going on too early for him. He's got different maps on his steering wheel. He can adjust the knob, change it, and hopefully fix that. If not, he'll have to do that in a pit stop.
So Takuma Sato, one pole in qualifying yesterday for AJ Foyt Racing, has held the lead for all of the laps that have been run so far, but we've only run a few. We're just underway. And we're back to St. Pete after this word from your ABC station. Check out the scene for the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Downtown St. Petersburg, Florida. The race just underway as the Verizon IndyCar Series is green for 2014. The race leader is Takuma Sato. Ryan Hunter-Reay running second. Tony Kanaan, Will Power, and Scott Dixon the top 5. Now a couple of quick things, racecraft to set here in the early going. Reminder for those of you new to IndyCar, like me, there are 2 tire compounds to run in the race. One is black wall, those are the standard tires. The cars with the red sidewall tires, that's the alternate compound or the softer tires. For this race, 16 of the 22 starters chose the softer tire to start with.
So that softer tire is going to give you more grip, but it will not last as long as the black wall. And in this case, you can see all the way down to 12th place, they're all on the red walls. But what's happening now is that Hunter, now that all the frenzy of the start is over, it's almost impossible even to follow. Now it's down to the grueling part of the race. Sato and Hunter-Reay are fighting at about 1.2 seconds from each other, and Hunter-Reay is bringing him in. He's gained almost 0.4 of a second in the last three laps.
Update on the second place runner from Vince.
And certainly while you always want to close in on that car in front of you, at this point, first and foremost, according to Michael Andretti, take care of the equipment.
You're okay in picture 4 if you like it. Save when you can. Save your fit. Hey, good. Just protect the tires. Don't worry about Sato.
Hearing a lot of communication up and down pit road about the tires. Take care of those tires, especially the reds, which have a tendency to go away quicker as compared to the black. Certainly, that's on the mind of Ryan Hunter-Reay here in the early stages of this race.
Hi, Vince, thanks. So there you see Hunter-Reay about 1.5 seconds behind Sato at the moment, and he's got about 3 seconds of a gap back to Tony Kanaan, the third place runner. Now, the other element to the strategy, besides tire selection, going to be fuel strategy. New rules this year for IndyCar will close the pit road when a caution flag comes out, and it's got a lot of the team strategists rethinking how they're going to play their fuel strategy for this race.
And it's certainly going to make pit road very busy, put a lot of pressure on the teams, the guys that are changing the tires and putting the fuel in the car. Now, there's a couple of things that will happen here. Your fuel tank, 18.5 gallons in size, you can probably get 27 to 30, maybe 32 laps in a tank full of fuel. The guys up front without yellows will try to achieve that. The guys that are fast, that are running at the back, for instance, like James Hinchcliffe, like Simon Pagenaud, they may come in a little bit early. The fuel window could be as early as lap 18, 19, 20. They'll come in, put service in their car, and hopefully that strategy pays off for them with a yellow flag somewhere down through the race.
If you've pitted and then the caution comes out and everybody else has to wait for the pit road to open, you stay out, you gain all that track position by that strategy gamble. Will Power working on Tony Kanaan for third place.
He's not only working, he's on him, and Tony Kanaan's going to have to start looking in his mirrors. They're all trying to get a rhythm and get the right amount of fuel consumption out of the car to stretch it out as long as they can. But the top 12 are all on these reds, and they're not really sure how much grip they will have at the end of the run. And here goes Power, and it's done.
So Power up to third place, finished last season on a roll.
He's continuing the role he had last year. He is probably the package of Power and Penske has probably been the quickest car on the track for the past few years, and he's picking up, like I said earlier, right where he left last year. Very clean, very tidy driver.
Up to third place is Will Power, now trying to make up about a 4.5 second gap to catch second place Ryan Hunter-Reay. 11th and 12th place, Sebastian Saavedra and Justin Wilson, 17 and 19.
Change of teams for Sebastian Saavedra. Now with the KV Racing team this year, along with teammate Sebastian Bourdais. Those guys can feed off of each other. Very young, talented driver with an experienced 4-time champion in the team. Expect a lot out of both those drivers this year.
But he has a very experienced driver behind him right now who was very good on the road tracks, as we saw last year at Detroit. So he better be very careful where he puts his tires, because if he makes a mistake, Wilson will be all over him.
Saavedra, a 23-year-old from Colombia, as his teammate Bourdais comes in. Now Bourdais started the race on the black harder tires, Vince.
Initially they were going to start on the reds, but when they saw everyone in front of them start on the reds themselves, they said, well, we'll switch to blacks. But here's the early strategy call, not just switching the reds, but also having to put on a new front nose assembly because of some damage to the front wing. A quick change and a smooth stop for the 11 of Bourdais.
So circumstances on the track forced their strategy hand a little bit, but now if a caution comes out and brings all these guys ahead of him to the pit lane, he'll stay out and walk into a bunch of track position.
That's a lot of ifs, Alan.
I know, but that's racing anymore, isn't it? As competitive as this series is, as close as the times are and so on.
By our calculations, you have to get to lap 19, wasn't it, Scott, that you for the fuel?
Well, if it goes green after that, but we know it won't go green, or we anticipate it won't go green all the way.
To note, Sato's advantage on Hunter-Reay is now 2.6 seconds.
Legging it out.
He's stretching it out.
You know, in conversation yesterday with Takuma Sato and his engineer Don Holliday, they said that the car is very good on red tires. So he's taking care of the tires right now. You hear his team telling him that. The reds generally fall off the harder that you run them, and especially at a fast pace like he's doing, but he seems to be able to drive the car smooth enough to keep the tires underneath him longer than other drivers.
And back in the traffic, Juan Pablo Montoya. Started 18th, he's up to 15th, right behind Graham Rahal, who we documented his charge in the opening lap earlier.
So for those of you watching Montoya, he has had 7 Grand Prix wins. He has won an Indy 500. He has won an open wheel championship in kart. This guy knows how to drive a race car, but he spent many of his last years driving a NASCAR, which is a heavier car in different types of circuits. So his brain, I think, is having to reprogram itself to this, and this is different. This is a lot quicker. There's more technology involved, and he has to kind of leave some of the things he learned in NASCAR back in the garage and start redeveloping himself all over again. But this guy is one tough competitor.
There you go. So look for Montoya on the pit lane. Hinchcliffe is on the pit lane now for a green flag stop, as is Aloshin.
James Hinchcliffe on your left-hand side. Talked about coming in early. The reason you come in early also is if you're very fast, you're in the back section because of qualifying, you can't advance your position because of traffic. That's also an opportunity to come in, put yourself off sequence just a little bit.
You know, talking about the things Montoya has to adjust to, you're not allowed to test on the red tires. You don't get any of those for testing. You don't get any of those for practice. So his first laps on those tires ever in this form of IndyCar were in qualifying yesterday. And they did part of that in the wet. Pagenaud in along with Montoya.
Montoya brings the car in. Think about this. First pit stop in an IndyCar in a really long time. It's a lot of adjustments, but he said before this race there was really no pressure. It's all about learning this weekend, and he's relearned how to do an IndyCar pit stop.
Simon Pagenaud in his pit box. They saved 3 sets of red, stickier tires because they didn't run them in qualifying. He jumps out right in front of the 2, Alan.
That was close. Joseph Newgarden also on and off pit road on this lap.
And Sato continues his march.
It's kind of fun to watch, isn't he? Finished the lap that won him the pole yesterday. Came to pit road. They said, well, there's still time left in the session. He keyed the radio and said, no, nobody's going to beat that.
3, 2, 1, hit your fire. Good.
Quick reminder, they're drag racing out in Vegas. SummitRacing.com, NHRA Nationals. See the final eliminations tonight at 11 Eastern over on ESPN2. And next Friday night, NASCAR Nationwide Series returns to action on the ESPN networks. It's 8 p.m. Eastern from the Lone Star State. ESPN2, Kyle Busch, your defending champion. For the IndyCars, they go on to Long Beach for the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach in a couple of weeks. See it Sunday, April 13th at 4 Eastern on NBCSN. Takuma Sato, our leader here, the winner there last year. Sato leading Ryan Hunter-Reay by 4 seconds as he's built his gap. Charlie Kimball there, 83, you saw on the pit road, making his stop. You also saw Helio Castroneves pass Tony Kanaan for 4th place. Rick?
Yeah, Mike Conway brought the Fuzzy's car in. Remember, he's the road racing specialist brought in, so Ed Carpenter will sit on the wall right now. But they've had a lot of problems during the course of the weekend, make some big changes overnight, and they're really happy. Also, we got Graham Rahal just brought his car in. He's going to the red tires, so he should be moving faster.
I think at this point we should mention that we have 2 rookies in the top 10. Munoz is 7th and Hawksworth is 8th.
Election's coming. So is Hinchcliffe. Go. You're clear out. Here, just focus on your car. Nice gap behind.
Saw those blue lights as Graham Rahal left the pit lane. That's new this year. That's kind of an advisory light. It's triggered to go off when a car is coming down the pit, the straightaway. So the driver exiting the pits knows there's traffic coming from his other side.
But it's only there to advise you. It's not to tell you to stop or to go. So it's a very tricky exit of the pits here.
Briscoe 8, Hawksworth 98. Give Briscoe the 8th position.
And Eddie, you mentioned about rookies, and Hawksworth, when you think about it, won the Indy Lights race here last year. Brian Hurd, his team owner, said, man, was he ever great. Jamie?
And Marco Andretti was struggling a bit. He slipped 7 positions early. He had those black primary tires on, and he told the team, they're going away, they're going away. They said, take care of it, we'll get you taken care of. They're gonna put some sticker reds on here and hope to make up some of that track position that he lost early.
I spoke to Marco just after the first day of practice. They were just really searching for speed in the car. He said the back end was trying to come around on him. Obviously, they've made it work better for qualifying, but the car's moving backwards now. Very frustrating for a driver who really wants to improve his racing this year.
Well, we all know that qualifying for 1 lap is one thing, and being able to run this thing consistently through a full tank is another. What you're looking for is consistency and grip all the way through your run. And obviously, Sato has that.
Yeah, Jack Hawksworth, the rookie, brings the car in. This is his very first pit stop ever. Think about that. Doing a great run. He was running in 10th. He's done well here before. Think about this. He's had 2 previous races in in the Pro Mazda and in Indy Lights. He's won both races. A little slow getting out of the box, but once again, his first pit stop ever.
Oh, the right front tire, man, had difficulty with the wheel nut, hitting the wheel on there, and then he also had to stop and change the front wing adjustment, so that was going to cost him probably a few spots.
But he's been on pace and he hasn't made any mistakes so far.
Marco Andretti, Graham Rahal, 25 and 15.
Boy, think about some great battles that those fathers had as we watch Will Power coming into the pit lane now for his service. Jamie?
And Will Power, so far so good, hasn't said much on the radio about the car. They've had a great weekend. He told me they haven't adjusted much from the way they unloaded. He started the race on reds. They're going to go to those black primary tires right now as they count them down. A little bit slower pit stop, but they got him filled up.
So Will Power is going exactly the opposite way that Marco Andretti is going. He went from reds to blacks, and Andretti is going from blacks to reds. We'll see who gets it right.
Remember, by rule, you have to run each compound at least once for at least 2 laps during the race. So as you watch that scoring crawl come across the top of the screen, the top 8 have not yet made a pit stop. 9th place, Will Power has. Carlos Huertas in 10th has not. And then from Justin Wilson in 11th on back, everybody else has made at least their first trip down the pit lane.
And earlier than we thought they would do also. We thought they would at least try to get laps 27, 28. Maybe the tires are going away for drivers and they're screaming on the radio, I need some new tires.
Okay, unpictured to all of you, but next to me in the booth, Eddie's got this look on his face. He's staring at the timing monitor and he's pondering something.
I don't want to sound like a broken record, but Sato is just walking away with this. He's now at 5.2 seconds. He seems to be able to add a second. and he's probably making really good mileage because he's the one that's done 23 miles. And the more he does with this full tank, the better off it is.
5 Colombian drivers in the field, including young Carlos Munoz, the 22-year-old, now living in Miami. And what an impression he's made early on a lot of people.
Last year we were at Indy, do you remember, Scott? We kept on looking at him thinking, when is he going to crash?
Yes.
And he almost won the Indy 500. Then we come here, and he was incredibly quick in the wet. He's in a team with Michael Andretti guiding him, where he will learn a lot because Michael is an expert at taking these young drivers and making something out of them. This guy is very talented and very brave.
Running in 6th place, Rick.
This is actually his second road course. Remember last year, he got thrown in very briefly at Toronto. He said that race, the car dominated him. This weekend, he's learning to use the car.
So Munoz being chased down by Briscoe for that spot. Little tight knot of traffic here. Hawksworth, Andretti, and Rahal. And this is for 17th, 18th, and 19th. And again, all 3 of these drivers having made their pit stops. What kind of ground it cost Hawksworth, because he was well ahead of these guys, and the car falling down from the jack and having to go back and refit that right front tire, and it's cost him.
It cost him some time, but now he looks in the mirror and he sees the names Andretti and Rahal behind him, and as a rookie, how would you feel about that? That's pretty cool.
Rookies don't care. Rookies just go fast. That's the beauty of being a rookie. In fact, he knows that he has him behind him, and I think Andretti will be the one that is more worried than he is.
Jack's a 23-year-old from Bradford, England, now living in Indianapolis. His first IndyCar start for Brian Herta Autosports.
I think you're right.
What did I just say? He chopped his front nose off. Marco's going to have to put a little bit more aggression than that if he's going to pass this young man from England.
Yeah, and usually it's the opposite way. It's usually the veteran chopping the rookie and saying, how's that work?
Winding around the ballpark onto Bayshore Drive, Weldon Way, blasting their way down to one of the great passing zones on this course. So up front, Helio Castroneves, 3-time winner here in St. Pete, running 3rd. Former champ Brian Hunter-Reay, a Florida boy, running 2nd, but they're all chasing Takuma Sato, who's led all of the laps so far from pole position. The beauty of our side-by-side coverage, you didn't miss a thing, as leader Takuma Sato and everybody else that has not yet pitted, except for Helio Castroneves, has come down the pit lane in this last lap. Here's Castroneves, now the leader, and he'll bail to the pit lane from the top spot at lap as he completes lap 28.
And his boss man Roger Penske making the call for Helio Castroneves, counting him down all the way to the number 2 pit box. Helio saying his car is good. They don't plan on making any changes here. He started on reds. You'll see the black sidewall tires go on here for Helio Castroneves, a 3-time winner here at St. Petersburg. Started the race 10th, moved up to 1st, and there's applause for Helio Castroneves, Alan.
That was a smooth pit stop.
These pit crews practice so much. They know it only takes them about 4.5 seconds to do the tire change. The less time they sit still waiting on the fuel.
These out laps are probably the most important laps you will do when you leave, when you're on the track, because your tires are cold and it is so easy to make a mistake. If you were looking at his hands, did you see how busy his hands were coming out of turn 3?
But very important also not to flat spot the tires when they're cold. And well, the backend's coming around on Kanaan. Sees Dixon behind him. It looks like Kanaan's been having a little bit of difficulty since the beginning of the race.
And up front, Will Power closing on Takuma Sato. This is now for the race lead after Castroneves pitted.
This is the first time that Sato has been under any real pressure since the start of the race.
Power's behind you, P2.
He talked about how crucial those out laps are. It's been 7 laps since Power pitted and 2 since Sato pitted.
And tires need to get up to temperature and pressure, so we'll be able to see if once that happens, Sato's able to pull away. You have a Honda leading, and you have a Chevrolet power plant behind them. So now it's a race between manufacturers also.
But both these cars that are leading, Sato and Power, have the same tire on. So their tire strategy is the same.
And talking about all those in-laps and out-laps and stuff like that, but you guys are race drivers. You see that leader after that mix of pit stops, your willpower, you see that leader there?
You're feeling pretty good.
It kind of gets that blood rushing a little bit, doesn't it?
Sato is not a driver that gives an inch on the road, and Power is a driver that doesn't like having a car in front of him. This is going to be an exciting battle, and here we go.
Hit the push to pass there, did Power.
Where I come, that's
outside. Can he do it?
He did it.
Oh, that's so hard.
Not yet.
No.
Not yet.
Oh.
Yes. No.
Oh, man.
New leader, Will Power. Wow.
I don't think Will was going to take no for an answer on that one. Sato took his decision, went to the inside. Will went to the outside. They had a little bit of a tussle in the middle, and Power came out up front.
Well, for Sato, as he started to go through turn 3, the wall on the right-hand side was the reason he took his foot out of the gas. But this is what Will Power does. He wants to get in front, and he wants to start pulling away.
But Sato has another problem. His name is Castro Neves. He's in a Penske sandwich right now.
Castro Neves, that car closing in. That wide runway 725 of Albert Woodard Airport, the stage for Will Power.
Sato makes his move. Power keeps going a little bit deeper. Manages to get like 3 feet on him. Squeezes the throttle just enough to stay there, and then powers by.
Oh, so close. Almost hit wheels. That's awesome. Nice pass.
So second leader of the race, not pit stop influenced, is Will Power.
Castro Neves on your bumper.
So Sato is still reeling from being passed by Power, and he hasn't quite got his rhythm back, and he's got another problem that he's going to have to deal with. So he's spending a lot of time looking in his mirrors, making sure he does a tight line, doesn't make any mistakes so that Castro Neves cannot go by him, but he's got to try to close that gap again with Power. It's a very difficult position to be in, Scott.
Well, what's telling me right now from what I see is that Sato's car does not work very well with the black sidewall tires on the standard tire, so he's going to run as long as he can on this and try and get himself back onto the red tires. They talked about the balance of the car. They said their car was great underneath the red sidewalls.
But with all things being equal, we have been told that the Reds, with the Reds that they go off. They start losing grip longer into the run. So if Sato can hold on another maybe 10 laps, he might then get the advantage again on the Reds.
Brian Hunter-Reay closing in as well. Hunter-Reay had been running up in second before the exchange of pit stops. Just the brief explanation of the tire selections of yesterday. They had to run the rain tires a little bit at the start of qualifying. And for more on the second place runner Sato, here's Rick.
Well, it's interesting because Sato came on the radio and was asking the team how many laps are on these tires. You know, they routinely scrub these tires. They don't send them out on stickers. And they said just one. I think he was thinking that maybe this was a little later into a cycle. And so he was concerned that they weren't going to come up the way he wanted to. And you heard him on the radio just a moment ago, the team saying everything's just coming up to temperature, just coming up to pressure. They feel those tires should be coming into their own right about now.
The arrival of Hunter-Reay, who is now attacking Castro Neves, is a great advantage to Sato. It gives him time to try to figure out what his car is doing.
You know, we're talking about, Scott, you mentioned the change from the red to the black tires for Sato's car, but you also come down pit road, you adjust your car. And whatever adjustment they made, maybe just hasn't agreed with the handling of this 14 as the conditions evolve during the race.
And the Penske's have done none. Sorry.
It's tire pressures and it's wing adjustments, so those are the things that you hope that you get right, but the car can't be perfect. There has to be a compromise either on the blacks or the reds. Most drivers say you'll never find a driver that says it's perfect on both sets of tires, and right now the blacks don't look like they agree to Sato. He's running about a second slower than Will Power, who's leading the race right now.
Final corner, off onto the runway.
Now we'll see how the two cars compare on the straightaway.
And another thing you don't know With the onboard controls these drivers have locked in those steering wheels is what instructions might have come from the pit box about what fuel setting to use at this point in the race to fit the race strategy in the end game, which is to be first to the checkers. Back to St. Pete after this from your ABC station. It's a great time of year. It's opening day in baseball. Presented by Scott's Yasiel Puig and the defending NL West champion Dodgers visit Chase Hadley and the Padres at Petco Park. Major League Baseball, the Dodgers and the Padres tonight at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ESPN and live on Watch ESPN. Just up the street from where we're racing today in St. Petersburg, Tropicana Field, where the Rays open on Monday afternoon with a 4:10 Eastern game against the Toronto Blue Jays.
Interesting to watch what's happening here, guys. You see Will Power still running strong times.
How's your car now?
See that? A radio report, very difficult to hear a little bit, but when we watch Soto right now and Castro Neves, those guys look like they are starting to spread just a little bit away from Power.
So Tony Kanaan started on the front row alongside Takuma Sato. He's back in 6th place and he's 14.7 seconds off the race lead.
Yeah, just need a few more seconds on that.
Well, it's been an issue for Tony Kanaan since the very beginning to what he called a really funky start where the car was very hard on the limiter, and then in the late stages of that first stint he said the car had a bad vibration and he didn't feel like he had much in the rear end of the car. So it's been a handful so far for TK in his debut in the 10.
The Rolling Science Project, it is a race car. Yes. How to make all 4 tires get maximum grip at 160 miles an hour down a city street when you're turning onto an airport runway and back off into the parking lot going around the baseball stadium.
And they're trying to do all that and use the least amount of fuel possible.
Good luck. Scott Dixon continuing to climb that list of all-time IndyCar race winners. I like how the catchphrase on it was the only guys ahead of him are named Foyt, Andretti, and Unser. Now he's 7th in all-time wins. It's A.J. Foyt, Mario Andretti, Michael Andretti, and Bobby, and Al Unser Jr. ahead of Dixon. But is there any question that he's one of the best drivers of his era?
I would definitely say he's one of the best drivers of his era, but I would definitely say that he is the best driver that New Zealand has ever produced, and there were some greats.
Bruce McLaren
and Dennis Hulme.
Scott Dixon running right now in 7th position. While we watch him work, let's check with Jamie.
Well, Scott Dixon will be the first to tell you this is not one of his favorite racetracks. He hasn't had the luck he wants here, and that means, of course, he hasn't won. So the team tried something different in the offseason. They went west for testing, tried to test on places that had low grip levels like it does here in St. Pete. He thought the way they unloaded, it really helped them. They tested at Sonoma, and he thought they could use 50% of what they learned there. So far today, the car is decent, but on these new tires, they're saying they're a little bit slower, but Mike Hole, his strategist, saying that's exactly the pace they want to carry till the end.
So Scott running in 7th position at the moment. Little knot here. Munoz 34, Montoya 2, Hawksworth 98, and Andretti 25. This is all for 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th. Andretti gonna get a spot.
And he did it cleanly, and he's on to the next one.
Marco back up to 15th. Remember, slid back in the opening run of the race after taking the green flag in the 6th position. Actually, the opening run, the opening lap, he got shuffled when they had that little 3 and 4 wide knot off into turn 1.
He now has Montoya in his sights. 2 corners to go, and they're on the long back, the long front straightaway. Let's see if he uses the push to pass button, because it's a little bit of NASCAR there. And Marco's going to be passed on the inside.
Hawksworth leaning on that push to pass button. Whoa, Marco squeezes him off.
That was a smart move by Hawksworth, certainly from the fact that he could push the pass button and maybe get past 2 cars at once. That was good value.
Graham Rahal looking for a piece of Juan Pablo Montoya. And
that was a tough lap for Montoya.
I think we heard a report earlier that maybe Montoya was having problems with his gearbox going from second to third, and those corners that he was going through there are all second gear corners.
From the few laps we've seen with Hawksworth, he's not very shy about sticking his nose in there, is he?
That's amazing. I mean, for a rookie to come through in this now, also remember, he won the Indy Lights race here last year. He's been very, very strong in all the junior formulas that he's run.
Ryan Briscoe you're riding with.
This happened a few laps ago.
And now Montoya on the pit lane. Rick?
Montoya brings the car in. He was concerned about the rear tires early on. Also, he had a shifting problem for a brief time. The reds come off, the blacks go on, and he's back out.
You have to think that Montoya at this race is just looking at it right now as a learning experience. He needs to got to get a lot of laps, make some knowledge in his head, reprogram everything, and come back for the next race.
You saw his car. His car is so hard to put power down. He can't get out of the corners because the tires are spinning, so the back end wants to come around. You've driven cars like that. I mean, that's so difficult.
So Juan Pablo Montoya now just behind race leader Will Power and a lap down in this one. Second place, 14 Sato and 3 Castroneves.
Penske's are very strong.
Now I just want to go back and clean up a little technical detail, talking about the push to pass, right? If you're new to IndyCar racing, like me, these cars with their very sophisticated electronic engine management systems, they have a button on the steering wheel called push to pass. They get 10 shots in a race like this one at it, and for a brief period of time, it gives them an increased horsepower and a burst of speed to try and make a pass.
But it's for a finite amount of time and only 10 pushes. So you have to be very careful how you spend it. It's like having a credit card. You don't want to spend it all at once.
And Castroneves has already used 4 of his 10.
And we're not even halfway through the race yet. So the worst thing you can do is use it when you're not sure that you're going to pass somebody.
Remember, Sebastian Bourdais was on pit road for a nose piece change and his first pit stop back at lap 12. Here he is again at lap 43.
This is a driver that has won so many races, still trying to find his footing on this last stage of his IndyCar career.
Rick?
Graham Rahal brings the car in. They take those reds off, put blacks on. The biggest problem was getting around a Lotion's car as he came in, but he's back out.
The leader's going by right now. You'll be right up behind him, and that's clean air.
This is a really awkward exit of the pits onto the racetrack here.
So close to the wall.
Will Power has run 22 laps since he pitted. Ran up and took the lead from Takuma Sato at lap number 30 with an outside move into turn 1 after Sato took the defensive line into the right-hand corner and has since driven away by 3 seconds.
And he's not looking back, is he? He's focused right now on fuel economy, not making a mistake, and just trying to get as many laps done as he can.
So Power first, Sato second, Castroneves third, Hunter-Reay fourth, Justin Wilson now up to 5th, and Tony Kanaan has slipped back to 6th.
Our fuel target is still 2.8. You can use a little more if you need to.
My fuel pump is gone. I cannot change mixture.
10-4.
So Kanaan having some troubles there. Here is Hinchcliffe.
How things change in 1 year.
Yeah.
Well, it all comes down to qualifying, doesn't it? He didn't get a good qualifying, found himself at the back.
Simon Pagenaud pits from 11th place, Jamie.
And Simon saying he has just a little bit of understeer, so they're going to work on that, give him a little adjustment. They're also going to take some red tires off and put another set of red tires on. Remember, he saved a set because he didn't put them on in qualifying like a lot of other teams did. That can give him an advantage here. 8.7 seconds, not bad for an adjustment and 4 fresh tires.
I'm still of the opinion that the blacks are the right way to go, because the first 4 cars, Power, Sato, Castroneves, and Hunter Ray, are on blacks. The next car that is not on blacks is Wilson, and he is in 5th place.
Has moved up during this segment of the race. Started the race on red, so at some point he still has to put on a set of the harder standard tire.
Sato has to get around Rahal as quickly as he can, but more importantly, he has to make sure he defends his line, because Castroneves is not that far behind him. And I get the feeling that if Castroneves jumps ahead of Sato, he will be quicker.
And you saw Sato's car there step out when he's trying to put the power down. Tells you that his tires are starting to go away a little bit. He doesn't have the grip when he tries to accelerate out of the turn. Closer to Graham when he gets in turns 13 and 14, so he can use the slipstream to go up the main straight. Hopefully he doesn't have to use the push to pass, but he may have to.
But that is really not a good thing if you have to use the push to pass when you're getting by a back marker.
Charlie Kimball on the pit lane,
who is currently running in 18th.
Had some difficulties in qualifying. Started
Go. All clear.
well at the back of the field in 20th out of 22. So Will Power leads, Takuma Sato in second, with Helio Castroneves and Ryan Hunter-Reay close on his back wing. The Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg on the streets of St. Petersburg, Florida, being led by Will Power as the Verizon IndyCar Series opens its 2014 campaign. Not quite to halfway, caution-free so far in this race, and Power in this second segment of the race since the first round of pit stops has legged out a lead over Takuma Sato of some 10 seconds after passing Sato 20 laps ago.
And Sato is followed by Castroneves with less than a second.
Here's Justin Wilson, who moved up into 5th place in this last run onto the pit lane. Jamie?
And Justin Wilson working with a new engineer this year, came over from Andretti. He worked his way all the way up to 7th already. He's been on the move today, started the race 16th. Said the car is pretty good. He went to black tires there. Justin Wilson, 9 seconds, took a little bit of extra time to fill it up.
All right, Jamie. Still Sato, Castroneves, Hunter-Reay. My mind wanders to what their fuel strategy and tire strategy is and how they're going to play out this last couple of segments of the race. Everybody looking to make a 3 pit stop run out of it for the 110 laps. And you look at a Hunter-Reay there, and he's out on the black tires, the harder tire. Is he running where he can, or is he running in a little bit of an economy mode so he can spend less time sitting still when he makes that next pit stop?
He's in a good place. Being in 4th place behind Castroneves, he's in a good place. He's not being attacked by anybody. I suspect he's saving as much fuel as he can, but right now the top 9 cars are on blacks. The first car that we see that's on reds is Marco Andretti in 10th place, followed by Wilson on another set of blacks.
Hunter-Reay, the 33-year-old from Fort Lauderdale, the 2012 Series champion. A lot of folks eyeing Ryan Hunter-Reay to see if he returns to championship form this season.
We just heard that Hinchcliffe is having all sorts of electronic issues also that are making his day even longer than it has been.
Marco Andretti in.
Looks like a routine stop. The red tires are coming off. A set of black standard tires are on. Filling up the fuel line. E85. And here comes Will Power.
Going over.
Yeah, Marco Andretti makes his way out. He wanted a change of front wing. They put the blacks on. Meanwhile, the 12 of Will Power has dominated today, coming off of last season with a vengeance after winning 3 of 5 races, 8.6 seconds. New set of tires. They filled them up with fuel, Alan.
I don't know how Penske's crew do it, but they make every pit stop look so easy.
You know, it's interesting over the past few years that people have really put focus on pit stops, and they're doing a lot of work building pit walls in their shops and practicing each and every day with specialists that go over the wall just to make sure that they don't have a problem. Look at this, 3 wide going down into 10.
Hawksworth in on the left, sorry.
Kind of caused by Marco being in the way here.
Just off the pit lane.
This is what you call a traffic jam.
And here's where you're urged not to put your finger on the push to pass button and use it quite yet. Maybe just use the draft. Doesn't look like any passing will happen this time. Whoa, Ryan Hunter, where he may be just doing a little bit of blocking, protecting going through there.
But this is what Sato needed. He needed Hunter Ray on Castroneves' gearbox.
7 car, Mikhail Aloshin, the 26-year-old from Moscow in the mix of that group. He is not on the lead lap and not racing for position there. Briscoe's in, Rick.
Yeah, earlier in the race they were talking about the possibility there might have been something wrong with the wing. Doesn't seem to be in that particular stop, though. They did make a wing adjustment and send him back out. He's been having some handling issues, but overall running in the top 10 and very strong.
And back to that knot of traffic on the track.
So right now, just with the pit stop that happened with Will Power, Sato is in the lead. And we have a Honda leading a Chevy, leading a Honda.
Castroneves in, Hunter Ray in. I was wondering when one of those guys seeing that knot of traffic with Marco there in front of them was going to say, okay, we're not making all the time we can here.
Let's go in.
A lap shy of halfway. 3rd and 4th place are in.
Ryan Hunter-Ray likes his race car. No changes will be made to it. Just going from the reds to the sticker blacks, or excuse me, from the blacks to another set of blacks. Tony Kanaan in for his pit stop as well. You just saw Kanaan go by. No changes in that car either.
Looks like Dixon is the champion of fuel economy today. He's currently in 2nd place.
Car is great. They put red stickers on. He is happy.
Talking about Helio Castroneves, just on and off pit road in that last trio of cars. So Takuma Sato leads, Scott Dixon is 2nd, then Will Power in 3rd, having already made his pit stop. Now figuring it costs you about 25 seconds to make a pit stop here with the length of the pit road, the time it takes you to stop and so on. Dixon's, Power is going to easily go back into the lead when those guys in front of him make their pit stops.
And Dixon is in the pits.
Scott Dixon makes his way down as he's counted into his pit box, saying they were a little bit slower on this set of tires this run, but they liked the pace. They're taking care of that fuel economy we've been talking about. They put those black sidewall tires on his car, sticker tires. We'll see how this pays off for Scott Dixon.
Very quick pit stop.
You were talking about that before, and the crew's practicing and so on and so on. I had the opportunity to watch one of the teams practice pit work over the winter as I was kind of trying to immerse myself into the IndyCar series and what goes on. And you're right, they know exactly how much time it should take. The one guy that has to run around the car, who'd be the outside rear tire carrier, tire man, they know exactly how much time it should take him to get around the car, and they know exactly how much time it should take them to get the tire change done. Then it's a matter of how long it's going to take to fuel the car. And from empty, it should take about 7 seconds to fill the 18.5-gallon tank.
That's when you're in your workshop. Yep. Doing it in front of 100,000 people for a place on the track is a lot more difficult.
All right, let's save fuel here. Fuel save. We're going to have sticker reds at the end. So the further we go, the less laps on your reds at the end. Give you a gap, but you're going to be the leader. No problem.
Exactly what Tim Cindric was saying to us this morning when we met with him, Alan. He said the reds, they want to have reds for the end so they can have the speed out of the car.
And again, really what it comes down to, when the competition is as close technically as the IndyCars are by rule, it I mean, it's in all forms of racing now. Formula One, NASCAR, you name it, but IndyCar also. The less time you spend sitting still waiting for fuel is time gained on the racetrack.
It's distance on the racetrack.
He'll run 63.0, so he's picking up on us. Go ahead and get by him if we can.
Charlie Kimball back in 20th place in the 83. And Will Power running in second, 8.6 seconds behind Takuma Sato, who has yet to make his second pit stop in the race.
He's got 30 laps on that tank full of fuel so far, so he's trying to stretch it out. Will he put a set of reds back on the car, which he was very quick with? Will he have enough to be able to catch back up to Will Power once he finishes his service and leaves the pits?
I don't think so. I think there'll be almost a 12-second gap.
Sato is 8 seconds ahead of Will Power. The Foyt team is in the pit lane. And here he is to the final corner and pit entry.
Let's see if he comes in. Yep, he's in.
Okay, Sato brings it in. They're telling him nice and easy at the beginning of this stint. He said the car was handling awful on those black sidewall tires, but it started to come into its own. They're going to put more blacks on, do a tire pressure adjustment. They did ask him if he wanted wing, but he said, no, I think I can live with it the way it is. Overall, relatively happy with it now, and the question is, will this next stint do the same?
So Will Power now the leader as Takuma Sato heads off the pit lane. And just one other small point on this red tire, black tire thing. The further you go in the 3-round qualifying format that IndyCar uses, the more red sets of tires you use. You only get 3 sets for the weekend. The further you go in qualifying, the more laps you put on those tires. If you don't make it very far in qualifying, you've got more of those red tires. But when you're the guy that was on the pole or qualified up front, you've used more.
So you have less for the race.
Yeah.
That's a choice.
Yep. Getting that track position to start with is pretty important. You do that by qualifying up front. Back to St. Pete after this from your ABC station.
ESPN's coverage of the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg on ABC. Brought to you by Honda, an official vehicle of the Verizon IndyCar Series. And Mother's High Performance Car Care Products, formulated for fanatics.
Beautiful, sunny, 68-degree day in St. Petersburg, Florida. As we take a look at our Mother's race rundown, Takuma Sato dominated the opening segment of the race. Then this beautiful outside pass by Will Power got Power the lead.
Almost a little bit of wheel contact there, costing Sato. He went backwards.
Other major story, Juan Pablo Montoya, the focus of so many eyeballs. As he returns to IndyCar racing, he's had his struggles today.
He's having a rough race here. Rough race. Marco Andretti's been coming and going, but Montoya has had a very long race day.
Reporting some problems shifting that two-car has been Juan Pablo Montoya of late. No problems at all for Will Power after that exchange of pit stops. When you saw Sato pitting a little while ago, Power is the leader by 8 seconds over Helio Castroneves, with Ryan Hunter-Reay up to 3rd, Mike Conway up to 4th, and Sato back to 5th, 22 seconds off the race lead. Let's get up to speed with Firestone and check in with Jamie.
And Will Power, very comfortable out front. He's done that quite a few times here at St. Petersburg. Now he's looking for his first win here since 2010, and he's well on his way. They unloaded this car on Friday, barely made any changes. He's very happy with the car. Remember, they have a set of sticker reds left. Now if you go way back 8 seconds, Helio Castroneves, his teammate, we're waiting on him, and there he is. He's very, oh, that's not him, that's a lap car. There he is, teammate Helio Castroneves. Now he has a set of scuffed reds on the ground, so a little bit different strategy than his teammate Will Power. But Helio very happy with this car, not wanting to adjust. Let's go to Vince.
3rd place is Ryan Hunter-Reay, last pitted on lap 55. He's on the black tires, has really liked his race car today. Remember, he won the championship in 2012, and he said what left him on the table with the championship hope last year was the fact they had too many DNFs. Too many DNFs last year, 6 of those. He said, we got to score points early in the season if we're to be champions again. And right now, he is being chased down, trying to hold off. Let's go to Rick DeBrule.
And that car is Mike Conway in the drives. Look how he moves over to the inside, makes a move, and Ryan Hunter-Reay takes third position. And what a great story. These guys have struggled all weekend long, barely making it into the Fast 12 yesterday because of some weather situations. But Mike Conway, who is a master of street racers, has done a great job. He's never finished higher than 19th here, so it's a great run for him. Let's go back to Sato, the guy who started on the pole here. So far, he's been relatively happy with the car. They've been making adjustments as they go, but just didn't seem to have enough to be able to catch up to Will Power ahead of them. But once again, considering where the team ended last year, this team with Takuma Sato doing great right now.
Scott Dixon, the defending series champion, running 6th right now. I'm looking at his tires and what he has left for the end of the race here. No sticker reds on the ground, but he does have a set of sticker blacks. Remember, this team made the swap from Honda Power to Chevy Power, so there's a lot of questions, but so far so good, Vince.
And running in 7th is Tony Kanaan. He started this race on the front row, but it's been a struggle. He fell back right away, and he's been holding steady in that 6th and 7th position. His engineer, Chris Simmons, says Kanaan drives the car from the rear of the car, and they had a rear vibration early, and that hurt TK immensely. Jamie?
Behind him, Justin Wilson in the 19. Michael Cannon is the engineer. First time working together. He comes over from Andretti Autosport. They weren't sure what they had. First practice was horrible. Next practice was good. The third practice was okay. Well, in the race, their car has been very good. Made minimal changes to this car, and he's been moving forward, Vince.
And then Sebastian Bourdais has also crept up into the top 10. He's currently running 9th, and he's been running laps as fast as the leaders throughout various parts of this race. They are really trying to conserve fuel right now. They've got to make 3.35 miles per gallon the rest of this stint to make it on one more stop. He's in conservation mode, Jamie.
And the 77 is Simon Pagenaud up to 10th. He started the race 14th. He told me that the 2 street courses he won last year gave him confidence. He knows they can win. The car has been pretty good. Alan, will send it back up to you.
And so what we're seeing here, a couple of the teams that made the really, really early move to pit road, having the circumstances work to their favor where the strategy is concerned for now, by the fact that we're caution-free at this point. And Bourdais and Conway and so on, those were guys that made really, really early moves to pit road, and they've gained a lot of track position as circumstances have played.
As much as they could, but the top 3, the top 2 ran all the way out. So if you look at it, we have 3 Chevys that are leading this race.
Mike Conway, I'll call him a street fighter. Couple of wins, both of them on the street courses. Going to share this ride this year with Ed Carpenter, and he just flat gets it done.
He just keeps delivering. He did the same thing in Detroit. To be all the way up in 3rd place from where he started, I think is nothing short of a miracle.
And with a team that really doesn't have a great road course setup, because he's helping mature that.
They got one now. He's 3rd.
Yeah. Ed Carpenter going to drive the oval races, the owner of this team, and Conway driving the road courses, and right now looking like a pretty good call.
And Ed is more than capable of winning on ovals, as he's proven time and time again. He's somebody that could be hunting for his first win at Indy.
Up to 3rd place, Rick.
Well, you know, I thought it was going to be uncomfortable for Ed Carpenter to be standing up here on the wall, but you seem to be comfortable today.
You know, that's one of my jobs on the team, is keeping things light. So try not to interrupt the flow of what these guys do every day when I'm in the car. So this is a learning experience for me right now, and we're having fun. Mike's doing a really good job, and we got to save a little bit of fuel, but we're looking good.
All right, you struggled a little bit during the course of this weekend. Are you surprised he's doing this fast right now?
Not really. I mean, we've been working at it. We had a really good warm-up this morning, and even practice 3 before qualifying, we felt like we had finally found something that Mike was liking. So there's been steady progress, even if the speed charts didn't show it. But, you know, that's why Mike's here. We knew he'd do a good job.
All right. Once again, Mike Conway in 3rd right now. Ed Carpenter will be back in the car, of course, for the ovals.
So as Conway runs 3rd, Castroneves is 2nd, Power is 1st, and we've run deeper into this race without a yellow flag than ever before. Jimmy Kimmel Live loaded with great stars this week on the guest list. Emma Stone, Scandal's Jeff Perry, David Duchovny, boxer Manny Pacquiao, and tomorrow night, Mindy Kaling. Jimmy Kimmel Live, your late night destination every weeknight at 11:35, 10:35 Central, here on ABC. What a destination it is in St. Petersburg, Florida today. A sunny 67-degree day as the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg unfolds. Down Albert Woodard Airport's runway 725, off onto First Avenue. Then the dash down around Al Lang Stadium, back off onto Central and then Bayshore before you come up through Albert Woodard Park and back around to complete another lap. Certainly Will Power enjoying the accommodations here in St. Pete today as well as anyone.
He's using his Chevy Power to its full advantage.
Power leading Helio Castroneves by 5 1/3 seconds.
You have one more overtake than Helio. You have one more than Helio.
And Mike Conway by 14.7 seconds back in third. And again, the key moment, I think, or the key factor in this one, it's been caution-free so far. And we're well past halfway, just a little bit from three-quarter distance in this one.
Oh, a slight bobble there from Will Power. Did you see that? Going into 13, turned in, the backhand stepped out just a little bit. That's the first time we've seen his car make a mistake or slide.
This track has changed from how we started the race, with Sato being able to pull away from everybody, and then the track kind of went away from him and went towards the Penske's.
Well, I think maybe he probably got some information on the radio that we ended up having a situation where he's running about a half a second slower. There's that what I was talking about before. That's what I was describing. So he's probably getting the information that recently Helio Castroneves has been running a half a second a lap quicker than Will Power has. So he's starting to catch up just a little bit.
There's the consecutively shrinking gap where laps are concerned from Power back to Castroneves.
It would have been almost inconceivable at the start of this race to say there would not have been any yellows to this point.
Yeah.
Well, there's teams in the paddock that we spoke to this morning thought there was going to be 2 or 3 and using their strategy around that, so the strategy is changing on the fly.
And a story on the day are the struggles of Juan Pablo Montoya, who's really had to fight for it today, for everything.
Or maybe the non-story of the day.
Yeah, Rick.
Yeah, he's been complaining he didn't have a lot of grip on the front end. You know, he's pointed out, he says, really, when you think about this weekend, there's really not a lot of pressure on me. Everybody knows coming in the door exactly what the expectations are, and it's really to learn so we can get to the next race. Think about it. Never driven at St. Pete, never driven this type of IndyCar.
And the gap between Power and Castroneves is 3.8 seconds. And then there's an enormous 10-second gap all the way to Conway.
So the gap shrinking between first and second.
It looks like all of the work that Penske did over the winter preparing for St. Pete was correct.
Penske running 1 and 2 right now. Castroneves, the popular 38-year-old from Brazil originally, now from South Florida, the Fort Lauderdale area, who, okay, first, he's Mr. Personality, right? Do you ever see him without a smile on his face, except when a race doesn't go well?
I've never seen him with his hair out of place. That's a smile.
While we watch Graham Rahal pit. And as for Castroneves, he ended up on the losing end of a championship fight at the end of last season. Asked about that as he came here to St. Petersburg for the start of this season, said, last season's over, history, forgotten, we start anew.
Everybody knows, the whole pit knows that he is the one driver in this pit that stands a chance of being the next 4-time Indianapolis 500 winner. And in American racing, that is a big deal. He's the ultimate professional, great with the fans, and he knows how to get a race car around St. Pete.
Charlie Kimball in and out. 37 laps to go.
When you're chasing down a car like he is right now with Power, they can tell you you're 4 seconds behind him and you know that you're gaining, but when you can actually see the car, that's the difference. It's like smelling blood in the water. When you can see, that just gives you that little extra.
You dig a little deeper, you seem to get on the gas a little sooner, your heart rate goes up.
10-4, they gave it to him last time.
So we're talking about the blue flag for the cars that are directly in front of Will Power. The blue flag means that there's somebody coming from behind that's probably quicker than you, and please give them the courtesy. That doesn't always work.
This is playing so much to Castroneves' advantage.
17, Sebastian Saavedra is the car right in front of the race leader.
And right now they're going to the slowest section of the track where Power is going to lose even more time, and Castroneves has a clean run. All he has to do is pick up 20 feet in this section and he'll be right on him going down the front straight again.
And you mentioned that, Eddie, and that last lap, Helio Castroneves was 9/10 of a second faster than Will Power.
When you can smell the blood, you get hungry. He's all over Power right now. And Power knows it. He's got these cars ahead of him, and he has to find a way around them. And he just Kimball spun.
At the end of the front straightaway, at the end of that runway, as you make that right-hand turn off, he's trying to get it rolling,
and he's stuck.
Okay, spin your arm like they told you to start.
Caution's out.
We finally have a yellow.
Now this changes the game completely, guys.
Now we can catch our breath and figure out who has what and what the strategies are.
Well, what this does with 35 laps to go, right? Everybody in every one of those cars just went to full lean on the fuel mixture.
We'll be okay here, bud.
Because they're way on the outside edge of a window if we were to run green from here to the finish. The other thing that it does, for the first time, because the new rules this year, pit road closed at the caution. Now all of these cars that are on the lead lap, all 17 of them, are going to come to pit lane together when the pit road is opened.
That's the first time that's happened.
And go head to head.
So this is where all that training the mechanics have done with their pit stops. Scott makes an enormous difference.
Well, it's on the driver too, isn't it? Making sure you don't stall the car when you're leaving.
So let's talk about that for a minute. They're not allowed to go outside of their pit box today.
We're going to have
under yellow.
Let's just have a look here to see what happened to Charlie Kimball. It looks like he was starting to turn, and then something happened. The car went directly left. I mean, it didn't look like it was something that Charlie did. Let's watch this again. He was actually just on the backside of Hawksworth. Looked like he had enough room to get through the turn, and it looked like the car just made an immediate left. Let's watch here, riding along. Oh, nope, the car just went straight because he carried too much speed going into the turn. Hawksworth was a little slower than he anticipated, blocked up that right front, and went directly into the tire barrel.
That just looked like a simple law of physics from where we're sitting, but then again, something could have gone wrong.
Charlie had just come off the pit lane in that 83. Remember, we saw him on the pit road under the green flag, so. The caution out for the first time. You obviously see he's driven away or been pushed off, but here we go with mass pit stops here and head-to-head competition on the pit road for track position.
Now, and let's talk about what they have to do in the pits, Scott. They're not allowed. They can't overstretch it. They've got to park it exactly in their box, because if they don't, they're going to get penalized.
And the most important thing, stop on your marks. That's exactly where the mechanics are. The fuel buckeye fits in perfectly. The guys can change the tires, but what's interesting here, guys, 34 laps to go. By the time they get service and the cars get back in the track, a couple more laps would have gone. We're going to end up with probably a 30-lap green flag race. The cars can go that distance on a tank full of fuel. No more stops. I'm sure it's going to be about speed and racing.
So Aloshin came in when the pits were closed.
Which you're allowed to do if you needed fuel or you had a flat tire. You'll have to.
So he's got to go all the way around, come back in, and then go to the back.
Yep. And he was last on the lead lap anyway, so he didn't really lose anything. And better than running out of fuel and stopping on the course. So here they come.
This is where the mechanics are stars.
Head to head on pit road. Track position at stake on a crucial last stop. Power, Castroneves, Conway, Hunter-Reay, and Sato, the top 5 coming in.
And the Penske teammates make their way down pit road. The 12 of Will Power will pull into his pit box first. He's happy with the car, made the one bobble, but they said, we're good to go, keep your head on. They take the tires off, put the red sticker tires on. Meanwhile, the 3 of Elio Castroneves, he makes his way into his pit box. He's already pitted and pulling out right now. Elio put on scuffed red tires. Talk about exciting down here, Alan.
There's no love lost there between the two of them. That was very close, but it was perfect.
Hunter-Reay and Kanaan close with the squeeze to that outside pit wall.
And surprise, surprise. Power's leading, and he's followed by Castroneves.
And when watching that, I'm not so sure that Elio Castroneves didn't touch the left rear tire of Scott Dixon's car when he left pit lane. Have a second car in line. Nope, very close though. Look at that against the team. No team orders. Yep, Elio knows that he's been released. Off he goes. No touching. You can't. Now,
there's no team order, Scott, but I would not want to be one of those drivers meeting with Penske the next morning saying, I'm sorry, I went out just a little bit too quick. That would be a very short and rude meeting.
Knocked each other out on the pit lane.
Yeah. That wouldn't work. I don't think that would work with Mr. Penske, as he was called by everybody in IndyCar.
So Mike Conway did not pit when the pit road was open. He's coming now, but he's also being ordered by race control to go back behind the pace car before he pulled onto the pit lane. You got more on this, Rick?
Yeah, and unfortunately, it is a simple miscommunication. The team was set up all planning for him to come in. There was no reason for him to stay out. He said he simply did not hear them give the command to come in, which is so unfortunate. Had worked his way up to third, was doing an absolutely spectacular run for this team. And because of a simple mistake, it's going to cost him a lot of places.
That is heartbreaking.
So first caution of the race, they're going to sweep up a lot of the marbles around the course as well. Give us a moment to bring you this word from your ABC station. Beautiful look at the course for the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, the opener for 2014 for the Verizon IndyCar Series. About 3/4 of the way through the race and under the first caution of the event. It came out when Charlie Kimball spun down in turn 1. He has continued. A look at Juan Pablo Montoya, who has gone the Firestone extra mile today. You say why? Well, we say because he's facing a big challenge, and he's just hanging in and taking his lumps and learning his lessons here today.
You know, it's amazing because his car's been really just having a hard time putting power down, and here comes Andretti. Jack Hawksworth here takes advantage, almost gets both of these guys with a lot of racing experience. Remember, he's a rookie, almost got the move completely done. But for Juan Pablo Montoya, this is a different environment that he's been in for the past many years because he's been on board his NASCAR vehicles.
I'm a great admirer of Montoya, but the only positive thing he can say about today is that he didn't grab.
So Montoya running back in 19th position at the moment. Reminder that later on tonight, you can see the final eliminations of the SummitRacing.com NHRA Nationals from the Strip in Vegas. No, not the one that runs down between all the casinos, the one that's the racetrack that they call the Strip. 11 Eastern, ESPN2. Next weekend, the NASCAR Nationwide Series back in action at the 1.5 Mile Texas Motor Speedway. We'll have that one for you Friday night at 8 Eastern on ESPN2. And for the IndyCar Series, next race in a couple of weeks, the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. See it at 4 Eastern on NBC-SN from the streets of Long Beach, California. Always a very popular event. Still cleaning up around the race course. We'll be back for the restart in a minute here at St. Pete. Coming to the restart in the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg with Will Power, the race leader, wrapping up the first caution and only caution of this race to this point. So Mike Conway was running third at the yellow, missed the opening of the pit lane, then wasn't sure where he was supposed to be in the order of things. And while they were waving around, James Hinchcliffe didn't know to stop behind the pace car.
Well, he's being the pace car driver on the passenger side was waving Hinchcliffe past, and when Mike Conway saw the hands outside the window, he thought it was for me too, so that's why he passed the pace car.
So as they went back and reviewed the videotape of the pit stop that Conway made on the subsequent lap and where he blended in, he's been placed in line behind Takuma Sato in 7th place, which is where he blended off of his pit stop.
I can see both sides of that argument. I think that is a fair call.
So ask me about pace cars.
I learned a long time ago not to ask you about pace cars.
Here we go with 28 laps to go.
Oh, it's an accordion, it's an accordion. What's going on? I have never seen. You know what? That falls on willpower. That is a ridiculous speed to bring the field down for the start. Yeah, that is crazy. Sorry,
totally uncalled for.
Just identify the accident cars. Hawksworth and Andretti were the two in contact that are stopped on the front stretch, and we're back under caution again.
That's stuff that happens at go-kart level. And especially bad for both those guys who are putting in a lot of miles, trying to have a good day, especially for Hawksworth. I mean, what a great job he has done today. And there's Michael Andretti, owner of Andretti Autosport, Marco's father.
We need to see that again because I have no idea why Will Power slowed down so much.
So there's an acceleration zone that is set by officials. and the leader is supposed to begin to accelerate to restart the race within that zone.
Alan, once you start accelerating, you continue accelerating.
Exactly.
You don't back off. I have to see it again, but you never back off and go again.
Yeah, that's like I said a second ago. That's something that happens in karting when the guys don't have much experience. And, you know, Will Power is a friend, love him, but you just can't do that. This is the highest level of racing. See, now the pace car is going to go in. He's slowed down for the pace car. And so as soon as he starts to accelerate, he's got to start moving the car. He's got to start going. And this is a single file restart. Everybody's expecting him to accelerate. He's slowing down by the time he gets up to the first cone zone.
But now let me just play a slight devil's advocate here with you. He hadn't reached that first acceleration zone line yet when things started bottling up behind him.
Now the pace car is going in there a little late, probably could be further away. But at this point in time, this is exactly, if we watched it, it looks like he's starting to slow down just a little bit. You need to continue to increase the speed.
All right, so just by way of understanding, the first mark for the restart zone is way back by where that inside wall comes to play. So he's not to it yet.
No, but watch,
not
it looks
to
like
it yet.
He's still going.
Not to it yet. Here, that's the beginning.
But Alan,
of the
he looks like he's in
acceleration
first gear.
He's slowing down. Certainly looks like he's starting to go slower. Could be wrong on that, but what the league IndyCar will do is go ahead and take all the data from that information.
Well, why would you? I mean, all acceleration means is whatever speed you have at that point, you accelerate from there. I don't believe they're asking him to accelerate from 10 miles an hour. And the drivers behind, I know that looked like they all made a mistake. It's a start, let's go. So there was nowhere for them to go. And Hawksworth started, he was the first one to clip somebody, but he actually had nowhere to go.
Vince?
With Michael Andretti. Michael, what was your thought on that restart?
Yeah, I mean, Will caused the crash. I mean, he stood on it, and then he got the accordion effect going, and then the guys in the back had nowhere to go. So, I mean, I think they should do something to Will in that, because that was it was wrong for what he did. And they're not allowed to do that.
Saw Marco get out a little bit gingerly with that right arm. Any report from the team in regards to his injury?
I actually didn't see. I don't know. No report.
How about your 28 and to the finish here? How good is Ryan Hunter-Reay right now?
I think we're capable of winning. You know, I think we had Elio there, but they made us go back. But because they said the yellow came out. But we fought it, but we lost.
Thanks, Michael. Let's go to Rick DeBrule.
Yeah, with Marco Andretti as he's walking up pit lane. Marco, the first thing we have to ask is how are you feeling? Looks like your hand hurt.
Yeah, my hand hurt. I just didn't get, it happened pretty quick. I didn't get my hand off the wheel. I'm not sure what happened. It looked like an accordion effect. I had a good restart going, but we were junk all day, so what are you going to do?
You also got a limp as well. You got really banged up in that one.
It was just a bad angle. I didn't hit that fast, but it was just a bad angle. It stopped pretty quick.
Well, not the way you want to end it, but not a great weekend for Marco. But obviously, the question now is whether he has any actual injuries or if it's just banged up.
All right, Rick, thanks. So certainly a moment of conversation on the first restart of the race, and a single file restart for the first time after they used double file restarts last year. IndyCar going to the single file restarts for the road and street courses, and Will Power being the point of conversation after the race leader and an accident behind him. Jamie?
Well, I'm with his strategist, Tim Cindric. Tim, I know you had a little conversation with your driver after that. What did you see?
Well, he was complaining that the green went before the cone zone, that they threw the green before that, so he's expecting it a little later. So obviously that kind of stacked up everybody. He didn't brake check Elio or anything like that. He said, I was just bringing them down slow, and they threw the green earlier than they said they were going to throw the green in between the two cones. So it caught him off guard a bit.
Thank you for your time, and Eddie, perhaps that's exactly what you were talking about, just easing them into the green.
Yes, they have a very complicated rule book in Indy cars, and I think on Monday there'll be something added to how they do these single file restarts.
And there's a couple of things going on here very quickly. When we look at this pace car, he needs to be off the course before the cars come to the last turn.
So under caution, a little controversy here. After a restart, accordions up the field. Marco Andretti's car on the hook here in St. Petersburg after a restart accident resulted in his car and the car of Jack Hawksworth being caught in an accordion and turned into the inside wall.
There could have been a lot more cars than there were.
Point of conversation, race leader Will Power there in the 12. Did he basically, the old short track term, brake check everybody on the restart, or?
Well, I'm not so sure that it's a brake check in the sense that, first off, the first problem was the pace car's too close to the field. Pace car needs to be further away, so he came around the corner slow, and then he's supposed to speed up a little bit to get to the go zone, and he just looked like he stayed the same speed or possibly slowed down. And everybody previously at every restart they've done, you come around the turn and you accelerate.
I'll bet you he does it differently this time. That's how you're supposed to do it.
There you go.
And here comes Hunter Ray on the inside of Castroneves. And he's got him. No. This is a yes, he has him.
Second place, Ryan Hunter-Reay.
Michael Andretti called that one, didn't he?
Yep. So now, Will Power with Ryan Hunter-Reay trying to chase him down for the race lead. Now, penalties are being announced by IndyCar officials. Don't have anything to do with that last incident yet, but Mike Conway, drive-through penalty, passing the pace car. After review, they've called the penalty on the 20. Sebastian Bourdais in the 11, penalty for not packing up. And 18 car of Carlos Huertas, penalty for his team taking full service while pit road was closed.
That non-packing up thing is very irritating when you're behind the guy that's not doing that.
But you can't pass the guy because then you get penalized.
22 laps to go, 22 laps, let's go.
This is a sprint all the way to the end.
Absolutely. Well within the fuel range, probably 100% fuel means maximum horsepower.
Maximum horsepower, and use every bit of the tires you have, and Sato is protecting. Pagenaud is now in the game, and he is lethal on the last laps around these road courses.
Pagenaud up to 5th. There he is in the 77 car. Started way back in 14th.
And he has Dixon ahead of him. It was not one of the easiest people to pass towards the end of a race.
Dixon's one of the few cars that are up there in the top 10 that actually has the standard black wall tire on, along with Tony Kanaan.
Top 3 cars have red walls. Power, Hunter-Reay, Castroneves, and they're all within 2.5 seconds.
Red tires come in after about 3 or 4 laps, generally stay with you 8 to 10. You've got 20 laps left to go, but with everybody running on the same tire up front, tire reaction should just about be the same.
How about this drive for Pagenaud in the 77? The 29-year-old from France, now living in Indianapolis. 2 wins last season for Schmidt-Peterson Hamilton Motorsports. And in his 3rd season of IndyCar, he's proved himself to be a very capable and threatened to win driver.
He's racing for a great team that's improving all the time, but I really believe he is pulling the team along with him, and he's about to do that again today. He is starting to line up Dixon. You can tell the different lines he's taking and trying to find a way around him. What I love right now is nobody is saving anything. You're not saving fuel, you're not saving tires, you're just going for it. Another thing in Pagenaud's favor, he doesn't have anybody attacking him, so he can just focus all of his attention on getting around Dixon.
Watch the speed increase here, all the way through the gearbox up to 6th gear.
20 laps to go, 20.
Just about 165 miles an hour, 166, back down to 2nd gear.
It looked like Dixon had an advantage in the straightaway. Pagenaud pulls him in under braking. If that's the case, he should get right back on his gearbox about 2 corners from now.
So that's 4th and 5th. 6th is Kanaan, 7th is Sato, and he's under pressure from Justin Wilson in the 19.
And Briscoe is 9th. We have 20 laps to go.
Sato started on pole in that 14 car, led the opening 30 laps of this one, but then fell back in a stint.
But he's back on reds again. He didn't like the blacks very much, so they put some reds on for the end. Pagenaud is also on reds, whereas Dixon is on blacks.
Nice battle there between Ryan Briscoe, Joseph Newgarden.
What a drive for Newgarden today. Started last in this field in that 67 car.
I think Newgarden's too far back to try.
Got a lot of talent with that young driver, and one of the smaller teams, Sarah Fisher Hartman Racing.
You know, it's been interesting with this team this weekend. They have had one issue after another. 3 of their practice sessions this weekend were shortened because of a mechanical or a part issue, and they kept saying this isn't indicative of how good our team is. Today in this race, they have shown it. They've come from, as you mentioned, Alan, last place at the start, now up to 10th, and he has been running some fast laps, keeping pace certainly with some of the front runners, but has had a lot of ground to make up. It's been a strong showing for Sarah Fisher Hartman Racing and Joseph Newgarden today.
And he's definitely not shy about getting close to Briscoe, is he? No.
Well, you said it earlier. No saving fuel, no saving anything.
This is where he's got to do it. He's got to come out of this corner right on his gearbox, but he loses about 2 car lengths.
Yeah, and the reason he does that is because he drives in too hard on the entry to the turn, and then he has to slow the car up to get through the center. So he needs to back that up just a little bit so he can actually come out at the same speed as Ryan Briscoe and then get a draft on him.
We talked with Marco Andretti earlier. The other driver taken out of the race by that restart incident is Jack Hawksworth. He's with Rick.
Standing by with Jack, not the rookie debut that you were hoping for. You had a great run really going up until that point, but what did it look like to you? I mean, you kind of were in the middle of all that.
Yeah, I don't know what the leader was doing or what was happening at the front, but they all just, I mean, they went. I heard green, everybody went, and then suddenly, you know, the leaders all stopped, and there was a huge concertina. I hit somebody, somebody hit me. It was just, I don't know what was going on at the front.
First race for a rookie is all about learning something. So what did Jack Hawksworth learn today about racing in IndyCar?
I mean, it was good to do the long races and the longer stints and stuff like that. Beginning of the race was a bit difficult. We didn't quite have the speed on the first run on the used reds, but I mean, bloody hell, in the second, once we put the new reds on, the thing was absolutely lightning, and we made up all that ground back. The car was really good. The BHA, Castrol, and Bowers and Wilkins, you know, I need to get practicing on that, but you know, all the guys, Legal Shield, the car was absolutely spot on, really. I mean, we were just going quicker than anybody else in the middle of the race, and we caught Briscoe up and stuck behind him. And perhaps if the yellow hadn't come out, I'm sure we would have, you know, we were already inside the top 10. Just a couple of guys at the pit still.
We definitely saw potential out of Jack Hawksworth today, even if the day did end a little earlier than he anticipated.
My goodness, he reminds me of Nigel Mansell. I thought I was listening to Nigel there for a minute.
Yeah,
that's fun.
Lots of talent.
He's quick, lots of talent, but he's definitely not from New York.
His team owner, Brian Herta, when I spoke to him this weekend, he said, people are going to be surprised by this guy. We've tested him. He's very talented. He's very quick. He will surprise.
Wilson's got 2 more overtakes than you, so save them unless you absolutely need them.
Power is not running away from Hunter Ray. Hunter Ray is 1.6 seconds behind him, and we have 16 laps to go.
Still watching Justin Wilson try and overtake Takuma Sato. You heard that radio transmission to Sato that Wilson has 2 more push to pass sessions left than does Sato. Sato has 2 left. Wilson has 4.
But Wilson is all over him in the slow bits. It is so hard at the end of a race when you have somebody on your gearbox to focus on going quick and not spend time looking in your mirrors to try to figure out where they're going to make their move.
And this is a time in the race where your body's starting to get a little bit tired, your hands are starting to get a little bit sore. Remember, this is the first yellow that we had way back there, and then another yellow followed. But when you're running as hard as you do on these street circuits, as bumpy as this one is, and as physical toll that it takes on you, drivers are tired.
15 laps to go. Power has put another 10th on Hunter-Reay. He's now 1.7 seconds ahead of him, and Castroneves is 3.3 behind him.
What a beautiful view. What a great race course this is. Great setting, great location. Another beautiful day and another big crowd here in St. Pete. Will Power, Ryan Hunter-Reay running 1 and 2. Penske and Chevy in the lead. Andretti and Honda running second.
And Chevy is leading the engine war in front of Hunter-Reay's Honda. Who would have expected?
It's one of the storylines coming into this season. Engine swaps. Of course, Ganassi's team went from Honda to Chevy for this season. Andretti Autosports went from Chevy to Honda this season. Honda itself went from a single turbo engine to the twin turbo configuration that's mandated for this season. And anytime you start something new, that's always going to make you a little anxious. Add on top of that, the mileage requirements for the engines to run this season increased by 25%. You've got to run one of these engines 2,500 race miles.
And you can make an engine for a place like this perform very well, but that engine sometimes will not run at Indy, so they have to do an engine that can run in both of these places. Don't forget, in May, we're at the Indianapolis 500, and these are the same engines that are going to run there. So it is quite a technical accomplishment to be so versatile as both these engine manufacturers are with these new turbo engines.
Good look there at the 2 lead groups. Top 3, Power, Hunter-Reay, and Castroneves separating themselves from 4th place Scott Dixon on back by about 5 seconds of racetrack. Then you've got Dixon, Pagenaud, Kanaan, Sato, Wilson, and Briscoe all in this group. And Joseph Newgarden joining in.
Sato is putting pressure on Kanaan. He's getting closer and closer, and he's pulled away just enough from Wilson that he doesn't have to look in his mirrors. Or at least not as often as he did before.
Tony Kanaan, the popular winner of the 2013 Indianapolis 500, moving over to Chip Ganassi Racing this year, taking over the 10 car for Dario Franchitti. And Kanaan started on the front row of this one, had that opening stint where he slipped back a little bit. Then it looks like his day is kind of stabilized, and he's fallen in and held his track position.
The car's been pretty good, guys, since that first stint when he had that vibration, but otherwise it has been solid. In fact, took on no changes on that last pit stop. Kanaan says himself he still feels like it's Dario's car, and it feels a bit unusual to put on that red Target driver suit, but he said it makes him feel like a superhero, and I'm guessing at some point this season we're going to see Tony Kanaan drive it to the front. Today isn't the day, but it will happen before this day is out, and how difficult it must be for that man, Dario Franchitti, to sit and watch and not be in that seat today.
He is a superhero. He won last year's Indy 500. That's got to be worth at least 10 horsepower.
I remember speaking with Tony many times, because obviously I was second there a few times, and he said, you know, I have come to the realization that I may finish my career and never win the Indianapolis 500. We had that conversation again at the beginning of last season, and then when I saw him after he won, he just said, man, this feels great. You've won the Indy 500.
That's why I hate talking to you about the Indy 500, because you should have had 3 by now.
Well, things happen or things don't
Shoulda,
happen.
coulda, woulda.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a cruel business sometimes, isn't it?
Wilson is right back on Sato again, and Briscoe's not that far behind. We have some great battles here.
And Newgarden's just doing a great job. He's not losing the back end of Ryan Briscoe's car.
We have 11 laps to go, and Power is 1.7 seconds behind in front of Hunter-Reay.
I want to tell him just to slow it down getting into the turn, carry the speed mid-turn, and you'll come out. See, he's just going to get to him at the end. He needs to get that turn. Look, he's so deep under
But
braking.
you know where I think he can get him? I don't think he'll get him at the end of the straightaway. I think he can get him at the end of this back straightaway, because he seems to be really good under braking. Watch how he closes under braking.
It's possible what's happening here is that Briscoe is running a big fuel conservation strategy. I talked with the team a little while ago to ask if he was good to the end. I said, can he make it? Is he good to the end? And they said, well, not quite perfectly good, which I'm assuming means if he saves enough fuel, he can make it. If not, well, he's going to have to come in for a splash.
Well, he pitted on the last lap.
I don't understand
the
that.
race leader and everybody else that's in front of him did. They pitted on the same lap, so
they must have short fuel to save track position.
Yeah. Yep. That time sitting still thing, where you're talking about earlier.
Look at him,
Yeah,
always
no,
under
there-
braking,
okay,
always
now
under braking.
back on the gas. See, he gets in the middle of the turn, and once you've done that, you're slowing the car down to...
Although
you have
this
to
is
start
the closest
accelerating.
he's been. This is the closest he's been. I think he's going to make a run for it.
Overtake behind.
They're both on the...
There he goes, here he goes.
Both in the push to pass. Excuse me, pardon me, playing through. Love it.
I think he must have listened to what you were telling him.
Nice drive. Joseph Newgarden, the 23-year-old from the Nashville area, made his IndyCar debut in this race in 2012 after winning the Indy Lights Championship a year prior. And certainly, it wouldn't surprise anyone if he scored his first win this season.
Absolutely not. And now he's in 9th place, and he's got to hunt down Wilson, and Wilson is right on the back of Sato.
And again, Newgarden started last in this race, 22nd on the grid.
And he has 10 laps to do it in. Power has added another, 2 tenths to his advantage over Hunter Ray. He is now a full 2 seconds, 2.1 seconds ahead of him.
Watching this fight here with Kanaan in 6th, Sato in 7th, Wilson in 8th. 10, 14, and 19 cars.
Dixon is in a strong 4th.
Looking to get his season off to a good start, something that's been somewhat elusive.
I think this is the best result he's had here at St. Pete for Dixon.
You give me a second, I've got that here somewhere. Finished 5th last year in this race.
But 4th.
Admittedly, he will tell you that this has not been a track that's been very kind to him. He says in his own words, I just don't get on with it.
Bourdais trying to make up ground in that 11 car after the penalty from earlier. The pass-through for not packing up. He had moved his way up pretty well in the race, but that penalty very costly for Sebastian. Bourdais running in 15th. Munoz that he just passed back to 16th place. Well, if you weren't with us earlier, a couple of really notable things surrounding Will Power today. First, an outside move at the end of the front stretch into turn 1 that he made to get the lead from Takuma Sato at lap number 1. Then on a restart at lap number 82 as the race leader, the field bottling up behind Power. And an accordion with a couple of cars, Marco Andretti and Jack Hawksworth winding up crashed. Did Power run afoul of things? Was he in the clear? There seemed to be, obviously the competitors and those that got taken out of the crash say absolutely it's his fault. But for now, he's the race leader, and he's 8 laps from a checkered flag.
And all he has to do is execute all the way through the end. I'm actually have to be correct of what I said about Dixon before. He has finished here second. Multiple times.
So there's the gap, 1st to 2nd for Will Power.
7 more laps, 7.
That's a calm voice, isn't it? 7 more laps.
Tim Cindric on the radio with the strategy for Will Power.
At this point in the race, you're always hearing something in the gearbox that doesn't sound quite right, or a vibration in the tire. Your mind starts working towards the end, and you have to really focus on just executing. Hit your marks, accelerate where you're supposed to, and don't let anything creep into your head, because it is so easy at the end of the race to lose focus, Scott, isn't it?
Street circuits are not kind if you make a mistake. Walls on both sides, you're running across the road, so they have a crown in the middle of the road to let the water drain, so when you drive over that crown, the car slides.
0.5.
Very bumpy, as we spoke about before. Different surfaces. You go from nice pavement to terrible pavement to parking lots, concrete. All this the guys have to really contend with. Here's a nice pack up of guys running right through here. Now this is the most difficult time because you want to try and make up a spot. You're pushing it as hard as you possibly can, and you don't have anything left, not only in the tires sometimes, but also in yourself.
The fastest guy in this group is Newgarden. Yep. And he just passed. Here he goes. Let's see how he runs it.
Passed Briscoe a little bit ago to get on, then ran down Wilson for this spot.
Yep. Now, is he close enough? I don't think he's close enough this time.
Well, he's only got 3 push the passes left, and he's got 6 laps left to go. So everybody here very shortly either seems to have 2, 3, or 4 push the passes left. Hunter Ray has 5, so he would be smart next time around with 5 laps left to go to just start pushing it and get that burst of speed to go down the straight.
Unless Power has a problem, Hunter Ray is not going to be able to attack him. There's only 6 laps, as you said, left. The man to watch here is Newgarden, who I believe is going to start sticking his nose in places where Wilson would prefer he wouldn't.
Well, and Joseph's done that before. I can think of Toronto a couple of years ago where he ended up getting his nose cut off. So here's going to be the case. Does he have enough experience now with a couple of years underneath his belt to be able to be calm, cool, and collective and to make the right move at the right time?
Should I make clear that you meant the nose of his car cut off?
Yes.
Not his nose?
Great job, bud. Great job. Keep that pressure on.
I like that one.
5 to go.
He's too far behind. Look at the distance he gains under braking.
Still Sato, Wilson, and Newgarden, 7th, 8th, and 9th, with Kanaan just ahead of them. The best race on the speedway at the moment into the closing 5 laps. Don't forget that opening night in baseball is tonight, presented by Scott's. Yasiel Puig and the NL West champion Dodgers visiting Chase Headley and the Padres at Petco Park. It's Los Angeles, San Diego, Major League Baseball tonight at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ESPN and live on Watch ESPN.
With 4 laps to go, Power has a 2.6 second advantage on Hunter Ray.
I don't know why the line didn't occur to me earlier, but it is opening day here in the IndyCar Series also. First race of this season. Opening laps, if you weren't with us earlier, Takuma Sato dominated.
They're on the button ahead.
Since the lap 30 mark, and we're at lap 106 now, it has been all Will Power except on pit stops. And the moment they'll talk about after this one is over will be that restart at lap 82 when the field bottled up behind the race leader. Wilson with a peek inside Sato.
Both Wilson and Sato are 2 of the toughest competitors and 2 of the toughest guys to pass on this circuit. So if they're going to pass, it's going to have to be a very, very committed move.
And Joseph Newgarden, who's worked his way from karting all the way through the feeder series into Indy cars, is trying to chase down a guy that has lots of experience, including Formula One.
Which is Wilson. And Newgarden might actually gain from Sato and Wilson going at it maybe a little bit too aggressively in the corner. So he's in a difficult position. Every time he puts pressure on Wilson, Wilson backs off from Sato.
See, now they lose his time. Every time he drives in so deep, he ends up losing that 3 or 4 car lengths on Wilson. He needs to time it a little bit better so he can get that draft going down the straight.
Only have 3 laps left. Everybody leaning on that push to pass button now.
Hunter Ray has closed the gap a little bit by gaining 0.3 of a second on Power. He's now at 2 seconds.
He was on that push to pass button down this front stretch last lap by.
Down to 1.7 seconds.
Sort of like a video game. You know, these cars have paddle shifters on the steering wheel, just like you do with your video game at home. You want a little bit more speed, push the button on your video game, push the button on your race car.
Except these crash. They can't reset it.
Yeah, and when they crash, it hurts. You just don't push restart.
What a great start to the season. We've picked up exactly where we were last year with everybody having a shot at winning.
2 laps to go. Hunter Ray digging in. Castroneves has fallen back 7 seconds in 3rd.
But stay with it, 2 to go.
And they're back to Dixon and the rest from 4th on down with now 2 laps to go here in St. Pete.
He's on his push to pass. So was Wilson to defend. This is where he's got to get just a little bit closer and time it better to get that one last run down the straightaway.
These are the 2 longest laps for Power in this race. There's nobody close enough to give him any sort of a problem. He just has to make sure that he does everything exactly how he's done it today. Just execute the plan.
Here he is, coming to get the white flag. This is the 73rd lap of 109 that he's led today. There's the only man close enough to see him, Ryan Hunter-Reay. And we're on the final lap here in St. Pete for Will Power.
And he has 1.8 seconds in his pocket.
14 turns to go.
You know what's interesting? Still has 4 pushes to pass left, and we're going to see if these guys are using it now. Everybody's on their push to pass.
It's Newgarden's last opportunity.
There you go. Nice and steady. Nice and steady. Just maintain pressure. Maintain pressure. Just from behind.
6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th there.
And all these guys, are heart rates racing at 180 beats per minute. Eddie, you know what it's like. We've done it. You're sweating inside your suit. Sweat's going in your eyes, and all you're trying to do is get down to those last couple of laps and get to the finish line.
Down to the final corner. He won 3 of the last 5 races to end 2013. He keeps the momentum going to start 2014. Checkered flag, and the win at St. Petersburg goes to Will Power.
And Hunter Ray finished second for Andretti.
Castroneves across for 3rd. Here's that race from 5th and 6th on back.
Good job today, Scott. Well done.
It'll be Kanaan, Sato, Wilson, and Newgarden, with Ryan Briscoe rounding out the top 10. Well, once he got the lead, there wasn't anything stopping Will Power today here in St. Pete, Jamie.
Roger Penske starts the season as the winner. Congratulations, Roger. I know you're not calling the race for Will Power, but what do you have to say about Tim Cindric and the strategy they had today? They went with the sticker reds there at the end.
Well, I think it was a great strategy. Of course, they short pitted to get out of the way there and get the red tires on and go. They had a great strategy. And, of course, Will is great on this race course, but it's a credit to the whole team, the guys back at the shop, obviously, for Verizon to see us get in the winner's circle when they took over the series is just so good for us. So congratulations to Will and the whole team.
All right, Will Power wins for the 2nd time, and Alan will talk to him in victory lane coming up.
The last 4 years, Will Power won the pole for this race to start the season, and he only won the race once. Didn't win the pole this weekend, started 4th, but he dominated the final 2/3 of this one to take home the checkered flag to open the 2014 season. We'll hear from the winner and crank up our post-race coverage in a moment from St. Pete.
ESPN's coverage of the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg on ABC. Brought to you by Firestone. Reminding you that whatever you drive, drive a Firestone.
Beautiful high 60-degree day in St. Petersburg on the shores of Tampa Bay. And after the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg is done, Will Power is the one that's going to celebrate on the podium.
Number 28 DHL.
I would think after finishing 16th last year, Will, coming out here and getting victory, you would have jumped a little bit higher than that.
Yeah, I'm pretty tired, actually. There's only one yellow period, so, man, mentally tired. That was physical and hard, but pretty stoked to get the first win for Verizon as a series sponsor, so with the Verizon car. So it's a great day, great stop there when we all pitted at the same time to get the boys got me out there. So really happy with that and executed well.
All right, there's a little bit of controversy on the first restart of the day. Take us through, in your mind, what exactly happened.
Well, they threw the green early. I thought we were meant to go in that zone. So I was surprised. So I don't know what happened. I don't even know what happened behind me. What happened?
They got together. Marco Andretti was out of the race. Jack Hawksworth was out of the race. And some maybe thought that you brake checked, but that wasn't the case.
No, I lifted a little. I didn't touch the brake at all. Definitely, they can look at my data. I did not touch the brake.
Let's talk about the way you ended last season. I know midway through the season, you stopped counting points and you just wanted to go for it. You won 3 out of the last 5 races. You did the same here. Tell me about that strategy mentally for you.
Yeah, I mean, man, I worked so hard in the off season, and we came into this season wanting to win a championship for Roger. You know, the way it went down last year was really disappointing for Elio not to win. So, you know, between the 3 of us, Juan, Elio, and myself, we've been working really hard to get the car right. And you know, the field's so tight that you know, I was happy that we had a good race car today because we didn't quite have the pace in qualifying.
How important was it for you to unload the way you did? You told me you guys made such minimal changes to this car. How important was that to get you here today?
Yeah, it was, man, that's how you want to start a season. It's last year was horrible, and this year it's good to, bam, get a points lead.
Congratulations. Will Power wins the first race of the season. Let's go to Vince.
And I'm with Ryan Hunter-Reay, who brought it home second today. Second here at St. Pete for the second time, and his biggest fan here with him as well. But what was the difference today between first and second place from your perspective?
You know, Will was doing a great job there at the end. We were matching each other qualifying lap for qualifying lap. I had a good little fight with Elio there and, you know, got by him, but just didn't have enough speed to catch up to in Will's, draft. Just didn't have enough speed to catch up to him and pass him, but we could match his pace. So it's a good start for the number 28 DHL Honda team. You know, this is it's a good start to the championship. Our first race back with Honda, so we're pretty happy with the result.
There will be a lot of conversation about the restart, maybe at the water cooler, on the message boards and so forth, where it all stacked up there. You were, I think, third in line at the time. What was your perspective of that?
Up front, everything was fine. You know, I got a good run on Elio and got by him, and then I had to get that spot back again, saying that they told me it was before the yellow. So we got back by him, so I was okay with it. But I guess there was an accordion in the back that I'm not aware of. But there's always accordions in restarts in racing. I mean, it just kind of happens that way. So we just need to control it as best we can. But I think, you know, it was a good turnout today. Great turnout at St. Pete. You know, first race for Verizon, the IndyCar series, and a lot of momentum going on in this sport right now. So we're pretty happy.
You told me when you won the championship in 2012, you were concerned you had to really dig for it at the end because you felt like you left points on the table at the beginning of the season. When you look at the big picture of this day, how satisfying is it?
Absolutely. Every one that you bank early, every point you bank early, you know that's one less that you might have to, you know, fight for in the end. So definitely good to get them in early, and getting a good start at St. Pete also sets the momentum going into Long Beach. So we're looking forward to that one.
Well done. Ryan Hunter-Reay, second place today. Let's go to Rick DeBrule.
Yeah, standing here with Elio Castroneves, who's really pretty frustrated because you had such a great car.
Well, I want to thank Hitachi AAA, Shell Pennzoil, also Verizon for being not only our sponsor, but the title sponsor as well. And what a race, man. I was having such a great time.
And you said you made changes in the warm-up that just set you up for the day.
Yeah, no, we knew exactly what we knew. That's why the warm-up is a warm-up to try things that maybe is going to work or not. But in the end of the day, I knew what I have to do. And I was just pushing. I was pushing all the way along, and just towards to the end, my used tires, red tires, was a little bit difficult, but it was a little strain on the restart. I got to review that.
I was going to say, what did it look like from your perspective? All right, it's a teammate.
I got to be fully Mr. Power. How do they say? Oh, wanker? Is that what he say? I mean, it was being very tricky, for sure. It was being very tricky, and I didn't understand. It was too slow on the first one, and then on the second one, obviously he played a little bit, but I got hang on to dry, and Hunter-Reay took advantage of it, and obviously they had a little better tires as well. So as I kept pushing, the tires was going away. But Firestone was awesome, man. I tell you, all the way, great start of the season. I love it. This place is awesome.
All right, last year you came so close to a championship. This may not be a victory, but from a points perspective, you got to be happy.
And that's why as soon as we had a moment back there in one of the corners, I said, RP, it's 10 laps to go. I don't think we're going to go anywhere. And he's like, just bring it home. It was at the limit. But in the end of the day, great job, Team Penske. 1-3. I think I enjoyed the ride in IndyCar Series, but now let's go next.
All right, looking for an actual championship that he really wants, and a discussion with his teammate. Alan?
So some interesting comments there as we look at the final finishing results from the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg today. 7 different teams represented in the top 10, topped by Will Power with his 22nd IndyCar win and his second here at St. Pete.
I can't wait to get to Indy. We were picked up right exactly where we were last year. The Honda made some changes to their engine. Chevy won the first race. It's going to be better than it was last year.
Engine
I don't know how we can
manufacturers
do
are very
that.
close. Juan Pablo Montoya with a difficult day, struggling back to 15th, and the 2 drivers that were taken out in the 1 incident on the day. More coming up from St. Pete in just a moment. I know we've just finished the season opener here in St. Pete, but 2 words about what you just saw there. Can't wait to get to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the month of May, the first ever race on the road course, the Grand Prix race, and then, of course, the qualifying weekend and the Indianapolis 500. I know you've experienced it many times. This will be my first, but I can't wait to go experience what the month of May is like.
Big and fast.
and we'll take you down to turn 1 and let you stand on the outside just to sort of see how that is.
Yeah.
And I don't think I ever did that until I retired, to go down there and watch the guys drive through the turns. And then I looked at that and I went, we're crazy.
If you did it before you retired, you wouldn't have done it.
I wouldn't have done it. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be a fantastic month. Last year with a record number of lead changes, the competition package hasn't really changed, and it should be another spectacular Indianapolis 500, and we look forward to the entire month of May here on ABC. Let's talk with more of the top finishers from today here in St. Petersburg. Vince?
I'm with the man who was fourth today, and that's Scott Dixon in the number 9 machine, the defending series champion. And we had a conversation earlier today, and you said, this isn't our place. We're just not all that great here. So if you're not all that great here and you still bring it home fourth, to me, that seems like a pretty good day. How would you assess it?
I'm smiling. You know, it was a long day. You know, it felt like I did a 24-hour by myself. The car was, you know, it wasn't that good. We just kind of hanging on the whole time. We kind of second stint got stuck behind the 10 car, and then third stint got stuck behind the 14. We kind of jumped them each consecutive time, and we had pretty decent speed. But then, you know, when we came to the end, you know, the top 3 cars were on reds, and they were off in the distance.
When you tell me you're hanging on, what's it feel like physically when you're in that situation?
You're constantly just shuffling, you know, your feet are going back and forth, your hands are going up and down, and the grip level comes up quite high, and it becomes very, you know, in split sections of the track. You know, maybe it could be on a you know, painted line or something. It gets really grippy, so the wheel's always trying to, you know, come out of your hands. But it did feel like a long race. You know, there was a lot of green, which is good. You know, I didn't think there was too much yellow. So an exciting day, and big thanks to, you know, Team Target, and, you know, it's nice to get a finish here, and all the people that came out today, man, it was awesome.
Yes, it was. Up and down the pit road, a lot of different opinions about the restart, where everybody kind of accordioned up, if you will. What was your take on that?
Yeah, you know, I think I don't think Will did anything wrong. You know, they moved the restart zone, you know, later this morning in warm up. So, you know, I think it was probably a little slow, if anything. But, you know, like, I think it's sometimes it's just people getting too greedy, man. And, you know, they've got to come down hard on that so nobody tries to take effect on jumping a few spots early on. And, you know, the blue car, the 77, kind of, it looked like that they had a pretty lucky restart there. So, you know, I'll review the tapes tonight. But, you know, we came fourth, and pretty solid day. And congrats to, obviously, Will. I think he won.
Thanks for your perspective. Thanks, Scott Dixon. Will, or Rick?
Well, let's talk to Simon Pagenaud, who said that he moved up as a result of that odd restart. You were able to gain 3 places, but you said it was qualifying that really killed you today. Why?
Yeah, I mean, we missed it in qualifying in the wet drying, and you know, we qualified 13th, 14th, which wasn't what we expected. But we had a fast car, and you know, we had very good fuel mileage from the Honda engine. That helped us go forward in the race. The pit crew was fantastic. We had such good pit stops. And that last restart was the key. So we managed to move our way forward with the fast car, and we got 5th today, which, you know, I'll take that today.
All right, you also said that you had a lot of speed left in the car, but you couldn't use it at the end of the race. Why?
Well, you know, we were on a very different strategy to move up, and I had to save fuel from midway, so halfway through the race. So the whole time I was saving fuel in the end, and that's what I was doing behind Dixon. I was pretty happy to keep up with him. It is what it is, and at the end of the day, it's a good result. You know, pretty happy.
Simon Pagenaud finishing 5th. Wonder what he could do when he doesn't have to save fuel.
So Power and Hunter Ray talking about it. The first and second place finishers today here at St. Petersburg, and there seemed to be very much a 50-50 division of opinions about that restart that came at lap 82 of 110 with Power, the race leader, that resulted in the accordion back throughout the field. We've heard one group one way and one group another way.
And I think it's probably going to remain that way. You know, when I look at it, I think the restart is too slow. Will Power should have accelerated, because usually, and we talked about this before off air, when you come around for a restart, you start to accelerate. You're accelerating slowly, increasing the speed, and then you get to the go zone, and then you gun it. I don't think I've ever seen a restart here recently where somebody came out, went real slow, as Will said he did, and he also admitted to taking his foot off the gas. I can't think you've ever done that in a restart. So he has to take some responsibility for that. I think also IndyCar has to change their procedure so the green flag is going first, and then they get it over on the radio.
I think Castroneves said it all when he used that English adjective to describe what he thought of Powers. And I'm not going to say that live on air.
Yeah.
All right, well, that'll be the moment that gets focused on a lot in the aftermath and rehashing of this event. Let's continue to rehash it with some more of the top finishers and check in with Tony Kanaan.
That's right, Tony Kanaan finished 6th place today. I just asked, how was it? And you said hard. Why?
It was hard, Rick. I got to thank the Target Chip Ganassi boys for the great pit stops, but
Right at the 4th lap of the race, we went on the saving fuel mixture, and then I put to lean the engine out to save some fuel, and the knob fell off. So I raced the entire race with a lot less power. So it was quite hard to keep up, but it's one of those things. It happened, but top 6 is not bad. It's not a bad start. I mean, both target cars in the top 6. It's great for the championship. It's going to be a tight one, so we need to take any points we can get. And for all the problems we had during the day, it was a great result.
I was going to say, when you think about it, when you have a problem right off the bat, to still be able to finish 6th, that says a lot about, well, not only Tony Kanaan, but this new team that you've come to join.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great organization. I think Chip and Target put a pretty good group of people in. When you have a bad day and you have problems and you finish 6th, it's pretty good.
All right, Tony Kanaan, 6th place. Not bad, considering he couldn't control the fuel level or the fuel usage on the car.
That's fascinating. So for all the conversation coming into today, the optimism, the great competition from 2013, the anticipation of the start of the new season, compared to what you were expecting when the day started, how did this race play out?
I think we just continued what we had last year. Last year was probably the most competitive season IndyCar's had in the last 2 decades. When we went to Indy, there were so many passes, and the race was won in the last corner. I think we're going into a season that's going to even be more competitive with more teams running. It's true that Penske's ran ahead, but there was a hard group of racing behind them.
And a lot of the smaller teams did a great job today too, but yet Penske winning, and then Andretti Autosport second, a Chevy winning, Honda being second. Honda's come out with a new engine, and it's just as competitive as a Chevrolet. So exactly, I think we're going to see a great competition year this year.
Do I get to, do they do like a rookie stripe in this? Do I get to take a rookie stripe off now?
I think absolutely. Outstanding job.
I took your rookie stripe after the opening.
There you go. Well, the day was all about Takuma Sato leading in the opening burst for A.J. Foyt from pole position. Then a bold outside pass made by Will Power to get the lead way back at lap 30. Power led the rest of the way except for an exchange of pit stops and the one controversial restart that came at lap 82 that leaves people discussing things, including the pace car driver, Johnny Rutherford there, who saw that 12 car right up close behind him in the rear view mirror. So St. Petersburg is done, and now we look ahead to the month of May.
Anxious for that. That road course been changed. A lot of drivers are looking forward to it. A lot of speed. Probably one of the fastest road courses that we'll be going to. I can't wait.
The only thing that I'm going to have trouble with is we're going backwards on the front straight. We're going a different way this time, so that might take some getting used to.
I think it'll all work out just great. So the month of May. On ABC, the Grand Prix of Indianapolis on Saturday, May 10th at 3:30 Eastern Time. The new qualifying format both Saturday and Sunday here on ABC for the Indianapolis 500 to set the field and then set the starting order. And the 98th Indianapolis 500 Memorial Day weekend. All of that the month of May here on ABC, and we look forward to bringing that to you. So the season opener at St. Petersburg is in the books, and the winner is Will Power. ABC World News or your local news is coming up next. For now, so long from St. Pete. Wood Green at St. Petersburg.
I have never seen that falls on Will Power. That is a ridiculous speed.